Thank you, Madam Clerk. This meeting is now being recorded. Councilman Ferguson, would you do the invocation, please?
Father God, we just give you the glory and the honor. We thank you for another day that you allow us to see. We thank you for keeping us over the weekend and just over this year, Father God. And Father God, we just ask that you would be in the midst of this meeting on tonight. Father God, that you would just have your way, give us wisdom and wise counsel. Father God, help us to be sober-minded and vigilant and watchful for the welfare of the city. Father God, we ask that you will bless all of the citizens of the city of Glenard and all the employees and all the elected officials. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Madam Clerk, could you do the roll call, please?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Councilwoman Jones.
Good evening here.
Thank you. Councilman Herring.
Here.
Thank you. Councilman Hairston.
Here.
Thank you. Councilwoman Guillaume. Councilwoman Fareed.
Here.
Thank you. Vice President Ferguson
Here.
and President Curtis.
Present.
We have 6 in attendance.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So move.
Moved by Councilman Hairston, second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Fareed. Any discussion? Okay. With that, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Councilwoman Jones.
Yes.
Councilman Herring.
Yes.
Councilman Hairston. Councilwoman Guillaume, Councilwoman Ferguson.
Here. Yes.
I'm sorry, thank you. Councilwoman Fareed.
Yeah.
President Curtis.
Yes.
And one more time, Councilman Hairston.
Yes. I'm sorry, my it froze on me. Yes.
That's okay. Thank you. We have 6 this passed.
Thank you. All right. First on the agenda is a presentation by our Gold Room coordinator, Ms. Jessica Robinson. Ms. Robinson, the floor is yours.
Thank you. President Curtis, would you be able to disable the host for screen sharing?
All right, Madam Clerk, could you? And also make me the co-host if you have not done that already.
Ms. Jessica, try to do it now. Here we go. Great.
Thank you. So I first want to thank the council for allowing me a few moments to speak with both the council and the citizens regarding what is a proposed revitalization plan for the Gold Room, as well as the Glenarden Community Center, in an effort to move forward to make this, of course, a profitable enterprise for the city. Before I get started, I know that I have been here about 5 weeks now, and many of you or some of you on the call may not know me. So I want to first introduce myself briefly, just because I know that I guess there have maybe been some questions about my background. And so I want to be able to share that with everyone publicly. I first want to start off by saying I have been in the special events industry for 27 years, primarily as the owner of J. Robinson Signature Events of the last 20 years, from which I am semi-retired. I have been a industry subject matter expert, having previous positions as an event manager for the Arbor Ballroom inside the Washington Times, also for several privately owned facilities, either starting them from the ground up as an advisor to the ownership or for restructuring their current process. I've been an event and catering director for a large event company here in the, catering company here in the area, as well as an advisor to a couple of the Hilton Banquet Department properties here in the area. I've been a public speaker for several years for conferences, educational sessions, and various platforms, and a mentor and brand strategy coach for businesses of all kinds. I am affiliated with a few of the associations within the organization, one being the Association of Bridal Consultants, where I have a coveted master wedding planner designation, one of only 63 in the world. And so I like to note that because it is through that organization that I've gained a lot of experience, continuing education, which affords me the opportunity to share and to advise and bring value to the operation here at the City of Glenarden, as well as the former member and communities committee member for the National Society of Black Wedding and Event Professionals. Among other things, I have also worked in administrative and guest services roles through the federal government, as well as for global law firms. So I just wanted to give a brief overview of that experience, just so that the citizens and the council, again, could know where my experience comes from and what value that adds to this position and what I'm about to present in the context of this forum. So first, I want to just give a short analysis of the industry, just so people are aware of how this property plays a part of a global industry. The special events industry in 2021 was valued at an $800 billion industry and being proposed to be projected to be a $2.2 billion industry in 2028. As it relates to weddings specifically, 2022 is slated to have 2.5 million weddings, which is the most since 1984. And I know you may be wondering how that plays a part into the city of Glenarden, but it actually is a huge part of it because, again, there is a large market for events and a lot of money gets spent annually on this particular industry. The average wedding cost just in the DC area alone averages $30,000 to $50,000 ideally, with some spending more and a few spending less ideally. So it plays a part because although we might be late to the party for 2020 booking season, which normally starts annually in November and runs through the following February, we are putting ourselves in a position to be ready for booking season for this year and going into next year and beyond. So I want to introduce this revitalization plan in three phases or three steps. The past, meaning an analysis of what I've done and being on the property for the 5 weeks that I've been here. The present, which is a foundational structure, and then the future for market and growth potential. So I want to break down these areas into three phases, with the phase one being immediate needs that we could address, the second phase being quarter 3 and 4 of this year, things that would be critical to us rebuilding the department and moving forward and propelling forward to make this a viable option for renters, and then phase 3 being a long-term goal, which is items that happen in 2023 and beyond. So in the past and present, for the sake of the time of the presentation, I want to address these simultaneously so that you're able to see kind of what the analysis is in present, what we have done or are doing to remedy those particular challenges. There are three focus areas, one being the facility itself and equipment, second being operational structure, third being profit and loss financials. So starting with area one of the things that I initially wanted to do, in which my supervising crew chief and I this week completed an audit of chairs. And I know it's important to note this because I know that in our current rules and regulations, it states that we have a capacity of 200. And so I think it's important to know that although there is a capacity for the room itself, there is a separate capacity when it comes to equipment and what's actually available and functioning. So So out of that chair audit, 126 of the older style chairs that were non-repairable, severely ripped or damaged were actually prepped, moved and prepped by my team to be presented to the city manager and the council for them to complete a resolution to figure out how we move forward with either, is it disposal, is it, taking it to the metal yard or whatever it might be. From that remaining, we have 150 of our grade A style chairs, which are our newer chairs, and then another 59 of the older chairs that are a overflow for events. So I think it's important to note that we want our inventory to match what's in our rules and regulations, as when individuals contracting us for the space, they are expecting that we're going to have this equipment available. So one of the solutions is to try to get a quote for a newer, more neutral chair that will be suitable for event hosts, because what we don't want to do is position ourselves in a way that kind of removes us as an option because of the aesthetics or because of equipment that we have or don't have available, or it not being as neutral as it needs to be for the palette of most modern renters. Also, a few tables and chairs we know were pretty broken that we needed to remove as in inventory as well. In addition to kitchen equipment, again, one of the expectations is that caterers can come in and be able to function in the property as needed. Of course, with the requirement being that there's no cooking on the premises, but we want to eliminate any opportunities for damage or anything of that nature with them using a stove for warming or things like that, which is provided as an option. So the solution would be for us to position ourselves to, kind of move or relocate unused equipment and to make space for electric warming cabinet that will easily allow caterers to be able to function for events as needed and to be able to better serve the renters and the event guests that come to our space. For facility repairs, we are working through things with Public Works regarding replacement of ceiling tiles, and we've addressed some other concerns that were in the space to kind of get it up to par so that when people are paying for the space, they're actually indeed getting what they pay for and the space is up to par. Supplies and cleanliness, we have reorganized our storage solution as well as provided some standard inventory lists and supplies and well stocked. That was one of the concerns, is that our storage facility, our storage rooms and facilities were not well stocked. And so when we go to do an event, we don't have cleaning supplies or things like that in the area. So we wanted to address those things immediately. Next would be a few other things along that line with proper signage. I have been working with the city manager and we have ordered some signage to ensure that guests know where event parking is versus where employee parking is, and some other signs in terms of the entrances that are available during events or not. Room aesthetics is another thing. And again, this is something that's more slated for a phase 2 or 3, but that's the overall aesthetics of the room. Again, I talked about that. Renters are looking for a more modern space. They're looking to come in and have to spend less money to transition into what they want it to be. And so by doing that, there were some recommendations that I made to the city manager and the council that we can visit later, such as quotes for chairs or painting or flooring, and later even electrical. There is a lack of electrical outlets in the room, being as though the space has not probably been remodeled since it was built in that capacity. So we want to look at those. The next thing would be upselling options. Again, quotes are being acquired. They're easy things that we could offer clients for a convenience that will be easy upsell items and streams of income for us, such as piping and draping on the stage, lighting, and basic AV equipment such as projector, small sound system, and things of that nature. So here are just a few pictures of what we've done. Again, here is looking at some of those old damaged chairs that needed to be moved out and cycled out that were just not suitable for events. And here we are now in terms of reorganizing the kitchen in terms of the space of what we have and reorganizing our storage rooms. This is actually at the community center to show where we were and where we are now, and actually have stocked some more since then. So the second area, again, I, for the sake of time, want to go over just the solutions. We now have a dedicated email address for the department itself. So that way, as individuals maybe move about in the department, don't lose the history or the content of the information, but that it can stay centralized and not be connected to a person, as well as a direct phone number so that we won't bombard the phone lines of the front desk, but renters and potential renters are able to call directly to the department to speak with someone regarding rental of the space. One of the things that I wanted to propose is title reclassifications for the department and the department head. I know that since probably the last set of standards and rules were implemented, the community center was maybe not on the table at that moment. So I wanted to propose that it be reclassified as the special events facility. That'll be a collective of both spaces, as well as the title of Gold Room Coordinator to possibly be events manager, being as though the position does encompass a more active role in terms of management, finances, and overall structure. Next is legal documentation, revising rental agreement to include some industry standard clauses up under a master set of policies. I know that that has been some time since we've had a resolution on revisiting that. And one thing that I can say is that this industry changes rapidly and frequently. And so we want to make sure that we're up to par with our competitors to make sure that we are operating in a standard that is industry wide and that would be on par for what simply others are doing as a general base for operation. Again, developing a standard operating procedure, and then taking it a step further with our policies on clarity for catering options, liability policy requirements, bartending proof of certificates, as well as security. And speaking with Captain Jackson, talking about changing the scale in terms of the number of off-duty officers, or if it's non-alcoholic or alcoholic, to make sure that we are providing viable options to our renters. One of the main things was an operating system that would allow us what we call a CRM system, a customer relations management system that allows us to organize our events, organize the information that we need to acquire from renters and from their vendors, and something that is actually going to be more environmentally safe in terms of not having to use as much paper consumption and being an extra cost to the city, but something that is convenient for the renters, that they could do their contracts digitally and sign, but those things also have a component where we can print those if they want to come pick them up, or pick up their rental guides or things like that. So there would still be an option for printed material for those individuals, but there is a way that we could convert to a digital system that allows us to better manage what it is that we have. Also addressing issues with visibility. There is no presence right now, visual presence for the Gold Room, specifically as a public enterprise. And so making sure that we kind of address the logo, the website, our digital marketing to make us, again, an attractive option to renters who want to possibly use the space. And then going another step forward into staff internal training sessions, which we've started, hiring additional team members, revisiting uniform policies, and also implementing some safety evacuation drills in case of emergency exits during events. Just to kind of give you a snapshot of some of the things to look forward to. We also, again, here is a spotlight of the logo that, temporarily have created for the space, a snapshot of what that software system would look like that includes things such as a bookkeeping component. We can easily see what our profit loss is for a particular event, and makes the process very easy for renters and user-friendly, as well as a public calendar where people can actually see the availability of the space that they're interested in before they even reach out to a member of our team, that this calendar will be public and placed on our website that they could view, as well as the facility guide, again, something that's user-friendly, it's easy to read, it breaks down into compartments, and that is something that creates, that heightens the visual presence that we want to see for the city of Glenarden. Another thing would be the event day protocol. This is something that we would send out to renters and a final confirmation email that they would get 30 days prior to their event, just stating here's a guide. This is something that you could easily share with your vendors to ensure that the rules that they agreed to maybe 6 months or a year ago are something that they get those general reminders of where to load in, where to load out, access points, parking, and things of that nature. The most important and most critical piece to this is the profit loss margin. I was able to review the treasurer's report from last month regarding July 1st through January 31st of this year. And what I noticed is that there is a $17,000 deficit. And at no point should this enterprise be a financial hardship on the citizens of Glenarden, but it should in fact be a profit and a money-making valuable asset to the city in which we want to move forward. And this plan is a way for us to move forward with those directions and bring our rental rates and our fee schedule up to par to make sure that we're covering expenses so that deficits are not something that we see as a recurring trend in future years. And wrapping up in the future, again, we want to revisit things such as our website, how we market, where we market. Again, there's a whole industry for where special events are marketed, but there are some local advertising efforts that we can do in order to attract some of our potential renters. They will implement or define our target market. And of course, our weekend business is some of those special milestone events like the weddings, birthday parties, retirements, things of that nature. And what we would ideally consider our weekday business will be our corporate streams of income, meaning luncheons, corporate retirement, corporate retreat groups from some of our area hotels that might want to do evening offsite events or even things that are hosted by the county or by TV or radio. And then of course, we also would still remain to advertise with our celebration of life events, being repast celebrations and memorials, understanding that they are no longer what they used to be. They are full-blown parties now. They have, music, or they have balloon arches, and they have elaborate decor. So making sure that those things are maybe not treated as just kind of an afterthought, but they are essentially in line with some of these other events as they do have some of the same aesthetics. We also would market to people that are like event planners. Of course, they are a direct connect to events, local hotel sales teams, churches, funerals, and radio stations. And of course, in wrapping, we could, what my proposal is that we have some Gold Room hosted events, kind of going back to some of the nostalgia of previous years that have been hosted in the Gold Room by having maybe a bridal expo, having a health and wellness expo, or a small business Saturday open house. So that way we're connecting with the community, but also some of those fun events, whether it's a hand dance night, line dance, sip and paint, an old school night, and even some brunch for major holidays like a resurrection or Easter Sunday brunch, Father's Day, gospel brunch, jazz brunch. So I just wanted to, in conclusion, just thank again the City Council for your time. And if there are any questions, I am available to answer for the council or citizens that might have questions about the proposed plan for the Gold Room. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Are there any questions from council members? Councilman Fareed?
Hi, Ms. Robinson. Thank you. This is a fantastic presentation. I love your vision for the Gold Room and making it a revenue generating operation. As it relates to kind of the new way that lots of events are being done, particularly hybrid events, where there's a virtual component, would you say that the Gold Room right now is capable to facilitate those types of events where, say it's a celebration of life and there are people in the room, and then also wanting to broadcast to family members who were unable to travel? Do we have the technical capabilities to do that right now?
I would say we don't. One of the components, and that's something that was addressed, that my proposal includes in a phase 3, is the electrical. Again, outlets in the room are far and few between. And again, some of the things in terms of visual aesthetics make it a little difficult to navigate around that. One of the things in terms of a quote for electrical would be us implementing outlets in the floor. That also ties into the conference piece, because most conferences, people are bringing laptops. There is a projector or something like that, whether it's drop down or pull up. A portable one is fine, but there still is a lack of electrical outlets. And so in this moment, we can't allow cords or extension cords to be running from the walls, only because of where the outlets are positioned. So that is something I did put in a phase 3, because that is essentially going to require some major electrical revisions and updates in order for us to do that.
Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions from council members?
Yeah, Mr. President.
Councilman Harry?
In line with that question, but we do have Wi-Fi access up in the Gold Room that will allow some virtual streaming if necessary. It can be worked out. That's correct, right?
We do have Wi-Fi. One of the challenges that we, I'm not going to say challenges, but one of the things that we experience is, of course, depending on the bandwidth of that Wi-Fi, the amount of people who get on it, of course, are going to slow it down. So I think that that's something that we need to look at, is ensuring that the bandwidth that we have, it has that capability, because of course, as more users are, we're streaming or using for the room, or even with conferences or things like that, if we're giving out that information publicly to the users, to the guests there, then of course it is going to slow it up the more people who are at it.
Okay, all right. Just wanted to clear that up. All right, thanks.
Sure.
Okay, any other questions from council members? Councilwoman Jones.
So thank you, Ms. Robinson, for your presentation. I thought it was very thought out and very well presented. What's the next step for us? Is it getting staffing taken care of, or what's the next move for the council?
One of the things is definitely staffing. We do have a staffing shortage, and also trying to train the staff members that we do have. So that is something that definitely we want to address. The next thing is I am finishing up those master set of policies and procedures to present to the council for you all to review and ask questions. I'm essentially taking what you have, but I'm elaborating a little more, because in the conversations that I've had with current people who have a contract with us and previous renters, the consistent thing that I've been getting is that there is a lack of consistency in what's being presented and what's in the guide. And also the guide, from my perspective, has a lot of loopholes or missing information that needs to be there. And also separating your current guide, it's operating as one document, and it essentially should be two. There should be a formative guide for renters that be able to see it prior to the event, because currently they're only seeing it when they book. And that creates some of the issue. But if they have that public document beforehand and some other things are implemented in a rental agreement that they can go back and reference in more depth, and that will provide a little more clarity. And I think it will alleviate a lot of the issues that I'm seeing in what I've seen so far. So definitely staffing, and also presenting or the approval of budget items to get us to where we need to be with purchases, and the resolution for moving the equipment and things of that nature. So that's what I say would be the next step.
Okay. All right, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Any other questions from council members? All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Robinson. Great presentation. Really appreciate it. I look forward to all the work that you're going to collaborate with the city manager in doing for the Gold Room. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda are the minutes for the regular session meeting held on Tuesday, January 25th, and the work session held on March 7th. They should be in your inbox, so please, council members, review them and be prepared to, vote to accept them next week during our regular session. We switched up this week because the topic discussion is going to be very brief. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Barber as it relates to GS Proctor and Associates.
Thank you, President Curtis and the council. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you this evening. Just wanted to give an update on the GS Proctor and Associates. As you all know, we are trying to engage GS Proctor and Associates to work for the city as our lobbyists. But it's really more than working as a lobbyist for us. They have a number of skill sets that we feel they would bring to the city and assisting us in doing a number of things. The most of which would be grant work. There are a number of grants that we could apply for that we just don't have the staff time to apply for right now. There are federal grants that could benefit our police department. There are USDA grants that could benefit the city in terms of facilities. There are state grants that we can be the recipient of that could help us in terms of energy consumption and savings for this building through the Maryland State Energy Corporation, through the Department of Housing and Community Development, and also through the State Highway Association. For bike lanes and things like that for the city. So that's one of the things that we would look to them to assist us in. We also would look to them to assist us in doing some corridor improvements along our corridors. You know, when people come into Glen Arden right now, they see the signs, but we would like for them to see a little bit more than just the signs to know that they've arrived here in Glen Arden. In terms of lobbying, certainly they would be our voice and our ears during the session, but we also would have them hopefully help us in lobbying for a bond bill because I have heard from some of the council members and from some citizens that they would like to see new police department and perhaps even a new building for the administrative offices, and a bond bill through the governor's office would assist in paying for that. So the other thing that I think that they could help us in is also issuing RFPs. We do a number of RFPs in-house, but they have also done those in the past for us. And also looking at the insurance and healthcare for our employees and assisting us in finding the best deals for our healthcare and insurance for our employees. So there's a wealth of projects that they could assist us in outside of the lobbying that I just wanted to make sure that you all were aware that when we look to engage them, that we are looking to engage them for more than just the lobbying.
Thank you, Ms. Barber. Are there any questions, Ms. Barber, as it relates to Mr. Harry?
Yes.
Councilman Harry? Sorry.
I guess my thing is, I mean, it's all well and good what you said, but at what point are they going to have a discussion with the council so that we can get our views across on what we're looking at doing? I mean, that's the whole problem. We engage them, and then there's no more conversation had about what projects we're going to look at, or they have some idea of what projects they need to look at for us. And I thought they were supposed to be meeting with us, sitting with us and giving us a presentation anyway.
So I'll let President Curtis address that.
Yeah, Councilman Harry, so from my understanding, that's not what the council asked for. The council asked for pretty much an itemized list of what they will work on in order for us to engage in a contract with them for $24,000 to pay them, I believe it was $2,000 a month. That was where we left it off. They're willing to give us a presentation, but from my understanding, that's not what we need because we know what they can do. It was basically what are they going to do for the $24,000 that we're going to spend with them. But the council wants them to come before us again. That's fine, but again, my understanding was that we already know what they can do. The issue was, what are they going to do? And the request of the mayor and city council, and city manager, was basically a statement of work for the $24,000 that detailed exactly what they're going to work on.
Mr. President.
Yes.
When we last left, I know I'm almost sure we asked them to give us a presentation because the mayor sent an email, I think, right after that meeting, saying, asking what days are you have available to meet with GS Proctor and Associates. Because I know some council members wanted to meet with them. I know some council members were not familiar with them, have not ever met with them, and I thought that that conversation was supposed to be had. I mean, but either whether when we engage them or not, we still should have a meeting with them to basically let them know what our expectations are and what we're looking at doing. And there may be some other questions about the previous times we've had them under contract. So I thought that was supposed to be had. So that was my understanding.
That's fine. Well, we can, if Ms. Barber, if you could engage with them, see if they're available for the regular session. That would be great.
Sure, I'll reach out to them tomorrow.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Barber. Next is electric charger stations.
Right, so the electric charging stations I had brought to you guys wanting to put the electric charging stations here at the municipal building. There were two proposals, one proposal from BGE where they would pay for everything and put it on the side of the parking lot closest to Martin Luther King Boulevard. And there were some questions whether or not we would have to pay for using that facility, and we would have to pay for using that facility. They don't offer any discounts unless you have 10 electric vehicles, and then they offer you a discount. They don't give it to you for free. And so there was I guess a desire to look at the other option, which is through the Electronic Vehicle Institute, which would put in a charging station or two here at the municipal building, right outside of the nutrition room right there, because that's where our power comes from into the building and where the panel is. And so I reached out to an electrician to see how much something like that would cost, because we would have to pay for the electrician to run the line for the electric vehicle charging station. I reached out to the firm that I had used before in my previous work here in Maryland, and they gave me a quote of $4,500 to do that type of work. Certainly I would get additional quotes, but that's just, I know them, they've done the exact same type of work for me before. So I know that they have a good grasp of what the work that's entailed to do that, but we would definitely get other quotes. But that's just the baseline information to give to you all. The Electronic Vehicle Institute is ready to give us the charger. That would be at no cost to us. As I said, it would just be the cost to connect the electricity. And then we would just be metering for the use of our own personal vehicles. And then for the public, they would pay a fee to use the chargers, and that revenue would be split with the city on a I think a 50-50 split. Just trying to make, but I can double check on what that split is from the Electronic Vehicle Institute. So, you know, in the budget, we had put in money for an electric vehicle for code enforcement, and you know, we're ready to pull the trigger on that. We just don't have the chargers in order to regenerate the cars. You know, it takes forever to charge them on a regular voltage from your house. So that's not practical for us. So what I would like to do is to be able to send some quotes to you all if you are in agreement with going forward with the Electric Vehicle Institute charger, and working that into our budget for this fiscal year and getting that up so we can get our code enforcement vehicle ready and going. And also then looking at the option of having an electric vehicle for the administration to use for things like bank runs or going to the post office to mail certified letters, to do other errands that different people in the administration have to do. And this is all just to build our sustainability here in the city of Glen Arden. We do very little in terms of energy savings. And one of my goals is to move us along the continuum of sustainability, and this would be a great first step.
Councilman Fareed.
Thank you, Ms. Barber. I'm really on board with the idea of kind of moving to a more green, sustainable environment, but I am concerned that having electrical chargers alone is not enough. I would feel more comfortable if this was part of a more comprehensive solution to increase the usage of electric vehicles. The gas lines over at Costco definitely indicate that people are not using electric vehicles right now. And I think we need to kind of bring awareness to the citizens about what electrical vehicles are, you know, how they work, what the different options are. And if we could get some sort of partnership, even with the county or the state, to expand a program. My worry would be that we would get these chargers, and in terms of a revenue generating that 50-50, we would basically get nothing because nobody would be using those charging stations outside of the public works vehicle and the administrative vehicle. And that by the time people really come around to this idea of electric vehicles, that whatever has been installed will be obsolete and will need to be upgraded. So I think if we can look at this as part of a, you know, a more comprehensive plan, and if these companies have any statistics on how they have increased the usage of electric vehicles in the areas that they are working in, that would be helpful. If they have partnerships, that would be helpful as well. That would be my concern, you know, making sure that if we're putting something there, that we're actually using it.
Yes, ma'am. I can check to see if that information is available.
Are there any other questions as it relates to electric charge stations? And I think, Ms. Barber, we spoke about this before, but is there going to be a, well, in addition to what Ms. Fareed already said, but going back to Ms. Robinson's presentation about just the electrical output of the building and the building possibly needing electrical work, how does that play into the charging stations? Because I know, at least for my short time here, that the electrical infrastructure of the building isn't in its best shape. So will there be someone to come in and do an assessment of that in conjunction with the charging stations?
Right, so we did have the electrician come in and look at the panel, and the chargers only take an additional 2 separate breakers of 40 amps per side. And that is pretty normal amperage, I think. I did talk with CPJ, our on-call engineers, and they are more than welcome to come out and do an electrical engineering analysis of the building to see if there's any concerns. But I don't think, just from previous experience with these chargers, that is that much draw on the building with those 40 amp breakers that are required. But I certainly can have them come out and do an analysis.
Of the whole infrastructure, not just for.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm up, a new chief of police. Just briefly, we've already been through the introduction of the Regis Bryant, who has gone out to be or in line to be the new police chief of the city of Glenarden. It's already been brought to a public hearing, so just giving the council a heads up that next week will be the actual vote on that legislation. So just, it's been a while because the process took some time, but just putting it on everyone's radar. Councilman Harry?
Yeah, so has the background check has been completed?
Yes, sir, Councilwoman Barber. Ms. Barber, could you give an update on just everything, all the background check? Not if you're not in-depth information, but whether everything has been completed or not.
Yeah, so all of the background information and background checks have been done. The complete breadth of background checks have been done, from neighborhood canvassing to background information, educational background checks, and certainly fingerprints and all that has been done. He has been approved by Sykesville, and he was given a waiver for comparative compliance, but he has chosen to go through that process. So we will be, working with him to get that when they offer that. So everything is good to go at this point.
So, so if he's going to go through comparative compliance, when will he be finished with that process?
Whenever they offer it, they only offer it once or twice a year, and we don't have any idea of when they're going to offer it next.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right, thanks.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, City Manager Barber. I appreciate it. Councilman Harry, you're still up. Legislation, ordinance, and emergency ordinance to amend 16-5 Ethics Commission established powers and duties. Councilman Harry?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to amend this section of the ethics code. Looking at the ethics code and the way it reads now, if when you're appointed to the Ethics Commission, it says you may continue to serve in the position after expiration of your term until you are removed or a successor is appointed. And I think we need to clarify the fact that if someone is elected to office, be it local, state, or federal office, that they must resign from the commission. And that's basically what I'm doing, is saying that, because technically a person can sit on there even if they're holding an elected position. I think it needs to be clarified that that person cannot hold that position, and that they need to resign from the commission, because the Ethics Commission hears complaints on elected officials. So a person in office should not be policing themselves. So that's the change I wanted to make on that, and that would be in the last sentence. That would be the last sentence of the code that I added to it.
Cool.
And that's basically it.
Any questions related to that? All right, and I take it, since it's emergency ordinance, that will be voted on next week?
It can be voted on next week, yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. An emergency ordinance to amend 92-4 designation of Gold Room Assistant, Mr. Harry.
Okay, and since 92-4 says that the council from time to time a designated person or persons to assist the city manager and administration of the Gold Room, I wanted it to be clarified that those persons will serve at the pleasure of the council, so that there'd be no break in the continuity of the business of the Gold Room. And that's the last sentence that that's the last section I added on that piece of legislation under 92-4.
Any questions? I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I'm good.
Any questions? Councilwoman Jones.
This says designation of Gold Room Assistant. I think we need to change that to Gold Room Manager, because the person that we have now is more or less a manager. Not saying that she won't get in and roll up her sleeves and help out with whatever needs to be done, but I think that needs to be changed to Gold Room Manager.
Well, I didn't want to put it directly to manager because we hire more than just a manager. We hire assistants, and the assistants can be the manager or the crew chief or anyone underneath that. And so to not be pigeonholed by, okay, only the go room manager serves at the pleasure of the council. We wanted to make sure that it wasn't misinterpreted, that somebody can come in and not affect the go room manager, but it can affect the staff underneath, when all the staff falls under the council.
So maybe go room, any a designation of go room assisting in designation of assisting in go room. Because it seems like to me, just go room assistant will just kind of pigeonhole it also to specific persons.
Well, I guess we could say designation of go room assistants, STANCE. So that's any assistance that we give.
Okay. Okay, I can go agree with that. Assistance, anybody that gives assistance to the go room. So in line 35, that'll be changed. In line 12, that'll be changed. Where else do I see it? Okay, line 32. Do I see it anywhere else? I'm not trying to help a sister, are you? So, okay. Okay, so, okay. 12,
yeah,
32, and 35. Okay, assistants. Okay.
And we'll clean it up before next week.
All right, thank you.
So,
Now,
okay,
I just said Councilman Herring. So this doesn't have to go to a public hearing?
Not if it comes as an emergency ordinance. That's the one. If it comes as an emergency ordinance with to the floor as an emergency ordinance with 5 votes, it doesn't have to come to a public hearing.
Okay.
And I'll say just before Ms. Ferguson goes that when we vote, we will have citizens' comments before we vote next week. But like Mr. Herring said, this is an emergency ordinance, so it does have clearance to go. Clearance to go next week. Sorry, Councilwoman Ferguson.
I was just wondering, should we be giving them numbers now?
Since they're coming to the floor, they should have numbers.
I thought technically they weren't coming to the floor until next week.
Right.
Well, we're doing a work session, so I mean, since we have agreed to bring them to the floor, they can be assigned their number.
Yeah.
Tonight, Council Clerk. I think this is the first set of ordinance we've had.
I believe so. Yep.
So I guess it would be easy to say 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else, Ms. Ferguson?
She needs to, for the record, state which ones is which, and that she's given them numbers.
Okay, so an emergency ordinance to amend section 16-5 Ethics Commission established powers and duties will be ordinance number 1-2022. Ordinance 2-2022 will be an emergency ordinance to amend sections 92-4 designation of gold room assistance.
So it'll be O-01-2022.
The second was 02-2022.
O-02-2022. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions related to this legislation? Ms. Aaron, I thought I saw some flicker. Did you have a question? Okay, maybe not. All right, next on the agenda, a resolution to amend City Council Rules Section 308, and Councilman Fareed, we could do 308 and 307 at the same time.
Yeah, so if we could do 307 first, that is the council rules, so that's a resolution. That's not a charter resolution. And I wanted to address some points that have been raised. And I want to make a distinction to kind of separate out 307 and 308. The proposal that we seem to not be in agreement with yet on 307 relates to whether or not a public hearing is required as a distinct third meeting, or whether or not we can incorporate public hearing within one of the two charter specified meetings, being the work session and the regular meeting. 308 is dealing with the timing between when we hear that public comment and when we vote. So I wanted to just kind of separate those two because I think we've been conflating the issues. And so I want to talk about 307 and just, again, that's dealing with the number of meetings that, that we're having. So per the charter right now, it only specifies that there's meetings on the first Monday and the second Monday of the month. We were not able to find any resolution that introduced the public hearing as a distinct third meeting to be held on the third Tuesday of the month. So the question really is for us as a council to decide, do we need to have a distinct third meeting to capture the public hearing, or can we have that public comment on legislation be incorporated into one or both of the existing meetings, being the work session and the regular meeting? In the last public hearing, we heard a lot of comment from citizens on their engagement. I do want to clarify that those two meetings really are addressing the public's involvement and not the council's involvement. So I'm saying that to just be plain to say, I'm not trying to abscond my council member requirements and responsibilities. We have lots of meetings. We do what we need to do in order to get them done. What this is really addressing is the citizens' need to attend meetings in order to be actively involved. We did hear from citizens supporting that, you know, they felt it would be more beneficial for them. They felt they could be more involved if there were just two meetings that they had to attend. And really it would be only one meeting in the way we're proposing it. They would attend the regular meeting and be able to provide comments on legislation, as well as being able to provide general comments. In effect, that's what's happening now, right? Like, we have our regular meetings and at the end we have citizens' comments, and we actually don't stop citizens when they start to speak on legislative points. We don't, you know, we never say point of order, stop, you can't speak on that, you know, that's for the public hearing. So right now, we actually are already kind of getting citizens' comments on both. And the other thing is that public hearing, we're having it even when there's no legislation, right? Because we've kind of taken this practice that this third meeting is a requirement. And so we have it whether we actually have legislation for citizens to comment on or not. So I just wanted to address that particular point. That again, 307 is about, can we have citizens provide commentary on resolutions and also provide commentary on just general issues in one meeting. I think something else is curious to me. It hadn't dawned on me until we were just talking about this, that the argument on the other side has been just so important to hear public comment on resolutions because, you know, we don't want to silence their voice. But I was actually surprised to hear that we could put forth an emergency ordinance and not have that go to a public hearing, given the fact that ordinances are actually laws. Those are the types of things that actually impact citizens. So while these particular ordinances don't rise to that nature, but we could put forth ordinance for noise violations or any number of things that would actually be implemented on the citizens. And for those types of things, it seems that we're okay to not have public hearing on that, but we want to have a public hearing and a distinct public hearing on, whether we purchase a police car or not. So I think we need to kind of reconcile. I would like to hear an explanation for why it's okay for us to move forward with not receiving public comment when we're doing ordinances, just because we've designated them as emergency, but why it's necessary to receive public comment on all other types of resolutions, which again, resolutions are not laws. They're really just kind of a formal expression of the council's will. So I'll just stop there so we can kind of talk on 307 and hear the concerns. I would love to hear from the council members who have a concern with doing that, what your concern is, because my goal is for really us to get to a place where we can meet the citizens' needs within what the spirit of the charter is, and making sure that every voice is heard as well.
Mr. President, may I?
Councilman Herring?
Okay, let me just say, whenever you sit in office, there always comes a situation where something may be a pressing issue that you have to address, and you have to address it in a timely manner. And yes, you would like to have citizens' comments on it, and you would like to have citizens hear citizens' concerns on it, but sometimes the need is more pressing than the time we have. The ordinances that I presented, I feel were were needed in a timely manner because of situations that we currently set in, and you know what it is, and we can't go into details about it. That's why I'm bringing those. As for the meetings, actually, the charter does say that their legislation will have a public hearing. And if you go to MML and you look at what MML constitutes as their meetings, there's 6 types of meetings that MML speaks of. Actually, and if I could share my screen, I would actually show it.
I think you can.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right, yeah, here it is right here. Okay, and this is from MML's website. They talk about the 6 types of meetings. They talk about the organizational meetings, which we have, the regular meetings, which the charter says we will have, a special or an emergency meetings, which we constantly have, work sessions, which we have, and it talks about the public hearings, which is a separate meeting in and of itself. And it says the council holds public hearings when it's considering the subject having usually high community impact and so forth and everything else. This is a separate meeting, and it's recognized as a separate meeting, and it's advertised as a separate meeting when you have a separate meeting, because people know when you're having a public hearing, you're coming to the separate meeting to speak on something that they want that they're allowed to speak on. And then you have your executive sessions, which we also have. But the public hearing is a separate meeting. And if the charter says you should have a public hearing, this is what they're talking about. And that's what the Maryland Municipal League recognizes it as a separate meeting. Every other jurisdiction recognizes it as a separate meeting. Now, and if you want to have it on the same day, you want to say we're going to have a public hearing at this time, then go into regular session at that time, that's different. But it is a separate meeting. It isn't included, intertwined into a regular meeting. The regular meeting is just a citizen's comments on a situation. So yes, the charter does say we will have a public hearing. A public hearing based on what Maryland Municipal League considers a separate meeting in and of itself. Now, me personally, with this whole thing, I think it does impact a citizen's right to be informed. A prime example is at the public hearing where one citizen was speaking on the charter resolution, and she's like, well, I haven't had time to read it, so let me read it right now. So that wasn't fair to her to have to read it right then and there. If we were going to vote on that, following the procedures that you put in place, she would have had that moment to read on it. We would have voted on it. She would have gave her comments. We would have voted on it. And I'm going to tell you, very seldom does anybody change their vote the night of the night they're supposed to have a vote based on citizens' comments. Now, that citizen should have had the right to read that, research it, and decide whether she wanted to speak out against it or get in touch with her elected officials about it and her concerns. And I don't understand what the big rush is. I'm telling you, when this council this government, the city of Glen Island was formed based on meetings. You know, it's 80 years old. It was started by Glen Island Civic Association, which basically was having meetings after meetings after meetings. They met to get a school built in the city of Glen Arden. There was no school in the city. Prince George's County wouldn't give them a school. So they had to have meetings, they had to have bake sales. They built the Rosenwald School so that the children could be educated. From that point all the way to now, there's nothing but meetings. That's what it is. It's a small sacrifice you make to improve the quality of life for all your citizens in the community. So I'm not understanding what the rush is, why, and I think the thing with the last citizens that commented, I'm not trying to be personal or anything else, but I've been on the council for 18 years. During this 18 years, I've lost a mother, father, brother. I think I may have missed 6 meetings. You know, I did what I had to do in my responsibility as a council member. And for citizens to come on here and say, you know, that, you know, they're too busy to make a meeting, you know, it isn't fair to them that they have to attend so many meetings, which I think is really not true, because all the meetings are posted online. Every meeting is posted online. They can look at those meetings at any time. Anytime they have some downtime, they can look at the work session, they can look at the regular meeting, they can look at the public hearing, they can participate that way. You know, if you wanted to participate, there's a way to participate, especially with Zoom meetings being recorded and downloaded like the next day. So if you wanted to participate, you would have participated. You know, I've been on here on this Zoom. We've been doing Zoom now for almost 2 years. I have not seen some of these people ever before on these meetings. I know who the same 30 people that come on these meetings. I see the same 30 people come on these meetings month after month after month. The people that are involved and are interested in what's going on in the city. So if you got a busy schedule and it don't afford you the opportunity to come to the meetings, then download it and listen to it at any time you want to, at your leisure. You know, but I don't think we should be taking away citizens' rights to comment and citizens' rights to be informed of what's going on. I mean, the procedure that you have in place is what we had before. Rushing legislation through, pushing it all through. And then again, the last time we had a meeting, just on one piece of legislation, we were an hour and a half on public comments. Now, if we roll that into the regular meeting, we'll have an hour and a half of public comments, the regular agenda, we'll be there till 11 o'clock at night. So why are we going to substitute a 1.5 hour meeting on a separate day to sit on a Monday till 11 to 12 o'clock at night? Then council members are going to be complaining about, you know, the meetings are long, and the citizens are going to complain about the meetings are long, which they should do, because that's what they were complaining about before. The meetings are too long. We shouldn't have to sit here all day long to give our comments. We you know, so the process we put in place will help alleviate that. You know, so I'm not understanding the need to not want to give the citizens the right to speak. And you know, and like I said, and the citizens that did speak at the public hearing, you know, I mean, they said some things that I thought was very I could find offensive, you know, because they're saying, you know, we should, you know, let me see, I got it right here, as a matter of fact. One person, I voted for new council members in the hope that they would lead our city forward with new ways of engaging citizens, because the old ways are just not compatible with the lifestyle that most of us live. Now, I'm not understanding what lifestyle that most of us live, because the citizens I know live some of them are seniors. They live a very tranquil lifestyle. They don't deal with technology. You know, they don't get on Zoom. You know, so my thing is, the city is bigger than just certain people in the community. You know, and those city, and when I'm at these events and seniors are coming up to me saying, "Councilman, what is going on in my city? I don't know what's going on. I've never not had any information in my city like I've had now. I don't know what's going on. I like to be involved. I like to see what's going on. I like to hear what's going on." You know, you're not having in person. You don't have them on cable. You're doing them on Zoom. And it really bothered me when one citizen said, "I cannot use my hands to do Zoom. So I cannot participate in the meetings because I cannot see them on cable." So my thing is, give people time to be able to research this stuff. I mean, that person may be able to get the legislation. She may be able to read it. She may be able to call a council member later. But to get on here and address a public hearing, she can't even get on to give comments at a public hearing because she can't do Zoom. So, you know, citizens come to these meetings and they make statements that I think, you know, does a disservice to all the citizens that came before them that got Glen Island to where it is today. Because when we came into office, there was millions of dollars sitting in the bank, which has never happened before. And that didn't get there from us doing anything. That got there from all the council members and the hard work from the council people before. Now, I'm gonna say this, like, my parents, Ms. Jones, Ms. Ferguson, Mr. Harrison, a lot of other parents in this community fought hard to get Glen on to where it is. And they did that by having meetings, by addressing issues, by going to meetings, and my feeling is this: God asked that we sacrifice our time to better someone else's stature in life, a status in life. We've got to sacrifice ourselves in order to improve the plot of others. And I don't think a few extra meetings a week is going to kill somebody. Woodmore got the way it was because we met till 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 and 5 times a week, fighting these developers in order to give a quality project over there that was going to be a boon to the community in Glen Arden and to all the citizens. And the revenue generated from there is helping us improve the plight of every citizen that we possibly can. So I don't see what the issue is. I don't see why we got to cut down the meeting because some people don't want to meet, but yet you'll sit here all night long on a topic till 11 to 12 o'clock at night. If it's a topic that you like, but if it's a topic you don't want to like, you'd be ready to roll up out of here. And I'm just saying that it's much better to give citizens more than not enough. If they feel they need that extra meeting, give it to them. Let them have it. If they don't come and speak, so be it. We gave you the opportunity to speak. So I'm just saying, I think that it's not fair to the citizens. On January 19th in 2019, me, Ms. Smallwood, and Ms. Eason, we had a public forum. We called a public forum of citizens. Citizens came out and they addressed that issue. We asked them, what do you want? And actually that forum was only really to address charter resolutions. And they're like, no, we want to know everything that's going on. We want to know all the legislation you're voting on, because when we're voting on resolutions that have, then we're spending thousands and thousands of their tax dollars, they want to know it. They want to see it. You say the resolutions aren't important. The resolutions are important. If we're voting on a trash contract that's $352,000 a year, they want to know that we're spending $52,000 a year on trash. They want to know that we're spending, $40,000, $50,000 on lights. They want to see that we're spending money on trucks and infrastructure. They want to see all of that. They want to have a say in it. They want to be able to reach out to their council person or their elected officials and say, hey, I have a problem with this. This is what I found out when I did my research. Now, I know some say that, people not going to do the research. You'd be amazed at how many people look into some of the things that we do and go to other municipalities and get information. So I'm just saying, I just think that to pull a meeting because a person doesn't want to sit through it, that's not a good reason for pulling a meeting. If you're busy, and I don't mean this personally to anybody in particular, but if your time is very crunched and you got family life and other things involved, which we all do, we all have a lot involved in our life. It's a very busy time for everybody, and then maybe the council seat isn't the position for us. If we can't sacrifice that time that we need to dedicate to the citizens and give them the as I say, the warm and fuzzies that we're doing the best we can and we're giving them all the information that we can, then maybe it's not the position that we need to fill in right now. It's not the time in your life where you can do it. Other things are more important.
So thank you, Mr. Herring. And I don't intend for this to be a debate, but I do want to address some issues. I didn't want a point of order because I wanted to make sure that you were heard. But again, this about 307 is not about the voting. So any comments related to like trying to rush things through, that's not what 307 is addressing. 307 is also not addressing the number of meetings that council members have. So this is not about whether or not council members can fulfill their responsibilities and how many meetings we have to attend. 307 is about the opportunities for citizens to speak to the council about legislation and about public matters. So it is not, I don't think that if we pass this, that there will be less meetings that the council will need to have. I'm sure we will still need to meet frequently to address the things that we need to address. So this is not, again, about the council's participation. If you could, though, bring that back up, the public hearing definition, because that is the definition. It is now in 307. And I think one aspect of that definition of public hearing that is different than the way that we're managing it is this piece where it says a subject having unusually high community impact, right? When we're talking about our typical resolutions, not our charter resolutions, not our ordinances, those are not necessarily things that have unusually high community impact, just as a kind of general. Now, if there are things that do have a high community impact, like ARPA funds, how we're going to spend that, or what we're going to do with the budget, all of those would be proper occasions to have a distinct public hearing. So all I'm suggesting is that on our kind of regular type of activities, and I also didn't intend to have it come across that I was saying resolutions don't matter. What I'm talking about is the direct impact on the citizens, and what those resolutions could be. So we still have the discretion to have a distinct public hearing whenever it is necessary. So again, for ordinances, charter resolutions, any topic that we think warrants or has an unusually high community impact. What the proposal is to not have that be the default, so that we're not having a public hearing every third Tuesday, but rather we have public hearings when they are necessary. And so that we can have that adequate time and make sure that people understand kind of what the topic is about and that they're able to present. And in terms of kind of, what happened in January of 2019, I think that what we recognize is as the city grows and as there are different demographics of people and different needs of the citizens, we make changes. What was done in 2019 was different than what was originally, in that first charter. So the way that things had been done was deemed to be kind of not the way that the collective body at that time wanted things to be done. So I don't want to negate the fact that there's a different sentiment from some people now. And that doesn't mean that one group of people matter more than another group of people, but I think all citizens are entitled to their perspectives. And it's, what we're grappling with is how can we accommodate that? The reality is that we want the city to move forward. We want people to be engaged. These people are not council members, right? We are council members. And so everything that you said about the council members' responsibility and the sacrifices that we make rings true. I can certainly say that for myself. I have a lot of commitments and I make a lot of sacrifices, and I try to be at every meeting and I try to be engaged as possible. So this, again, is not a matter of what is for the council. This is really about the opportunities for citizens to speak. I did also receive an email. I don't know if the rest of the council received it, from a citizen who is not part of the new cohort, someone who is very actively involved in meetings, and he suggested as well that the city should only have these 2 meetings for citizens. But I'll stop there because I see Ms. Jones' hand is up.
Councilwoman Jones.
Maybe I'm not, maybe I need to go back and read 307 again, because what I thought 307 was doing was changing some of the council wording in the council rules. I did not see that as to change having to insert places to have citizens speak. I'm looking at, because there is a charter resolution, I think it's off the top of my head, it's CRO 2017 that instituted public hearings for the city. Now, it doesn't give a specific third Tuesday date and time, but there is something that's written in the charter that says that we will have public hearings that was voted on by the prior council. So they do have to have public hearings, so like I said, maybe I need to go back and reread just, because I thought only 307 was to change how the council rules to insert different things for the council rules.
Right, so it's the agenda for those meetings where that citizens comment has been added. So there's in that portion of the council rules where it has the agenda for the meeting, there's a citizens comments portion at the start of the regular meeting, as well as a citizens comment at the end of the meeting. It is not eliminating public hearings. What it is doing is saying that the hearing of the public for, you know, your typical resolutions, kind of just, you know, like if it was our, well, not really our personnel things, but I can't think of a great example, but those would happen at the beginning of the meeting. And again, this is not saying that we will never have public hearings. This is not eliminating that. This is more so saying that a distinct public hearing is going to be held when there is something, a subject having an unusually high community impact, rather than keeping a placeholder for the third Tuesday of every month.
So as Councilman Herring has stated, that's just going to prolong the meeting.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Any other?
Mr. President, may I just want to say something.
Sure.
It is,
Councilman.
but Councilwoman Fareed, exactly, I mean, what you're doing is exactly what I'm saying. You're trying to condense everything into 2 meetings, which is going to limit the amount of time that the citizens have to basically become more informed on what legislation we're putting forth. It's a play on words. Yes, you're giving the citizens the right to speak, but you're giving them the right to speak right before we're going to vote on legislation. What type of impact are they going to have once we've made up our mind?
We can do this without voting the same day, right? Like, so 308 is addressing the voting matter. This 307, we could have regular comment and take the citizens' comments on legislation and not vote on it until the next month.
Well, that won't happen. I've never seen that happen with a council. I've never seen them table it, because you're going to vote it. So you're going to put legislation on the agenda, vote it to bring it to the table. Then you're going to table it because citizens' comments.
No, I'm not talking about tabling it. I'm talking about hearing the public comment. So right now, how we have it is that we have our regular meeting. We have our work session, our regular meeting, then we have the public hearing. We don't vote on what was commented on at that public hearing on the third Tuesday until the second Monday of the following month. We could still do that. We could have that public comment on the legislation received on the second Monday of the month at the start of the regular meeting, and not have that legislation be voted on until the following regular meeting.
See, but the operative there is we don't have to. We could do it, but we don't have to do it. We don't have to.
307. So
we could vote on it that day, or we could wait till the next month. And I don't see that happening. Again,
we could pass 307 and not pass 308. If we pass 307, we would still be taking that public comment and not voting on it on the same night. We would take that public comment and then vote on it the following month. So that's why I'm saying we need to just separate 307 and 308. They don't go together. One doesn't necessitate the other.
Again, all I see is that an elimination of the time that citizens have to gain more information. That's all I see it as, and for them not to be informed. You know, and there's too many variables. We could do this, you could do that. You know, all of these woulds, coulds, but it's not a guarantee. For me, I don't want to guarantee that these citizens have an opportunity to research this information, to find out more information, to be able to call their elected officials. What's going on with this Councilwoman Fareed? What's going on with this Councilman Herring? What's going on with this Councilman Jones, Councilwoman Jones, or just ask your council members to get information. And I don't see anything wrong with that. Citizens do it all the time. I think the time is necessary because we move things through quickly. And again, voting on a resolution like we're looking at, we're going to discuss tonight on spending $178,000 on street repair directly affects the citizens in this community. And we're talking about ADA curb cuts. So that directly affects the citizens. Ordinances, yeah, it's a law, it affects, but this sidewalks, streets, flooding issues, all those items are approved by resolution. They directly affect the citizens in this community. Everything we do directly affects the citizens in this community. We're grassroots officials. What we do is more important than what the senators and congressmen do on Capitol Hill, because we see our neighbors every day, and we go out here in these streets and we talk to them and we try to assist them the best way we can. So I'm just saying that, and one thing that they want to know is what we are doing as their elected officials. What are you doing with my tax dollars? This is their money. This isn't my money. I want to give them an opportunity to be comfortable with what we're doing, find out the information, be able to research, talk to your council members, see what's going on. You know, not come to me on at these events saying, Councilman, I don't know what's going on. What is going on? I want to know what's going on in the city of Glenarden. I've never not been in the dark like this before in all my life. I've been here.
And
You know,
I would
to take that right away from them, because we want to have less meetings. We want to roll them all up into 2 meetings versus having 3. Now, my thing is this: with the public hearing, that was a decision made by the council. I said earlier on, if we don't have legislation for a public hearing, you don't have a public hearing. That's the only reason the public hearing was there, was to address legislation that was going to be voted on. But just to have it, just to hear people speak, that's not what it was for, and it shouldn't have never went in that direction.
I like that. So Mr. Herring, so the reason why I keep bringing this back is because I want to just assure you and everyone else, I'm with you. I definitely believe in what we do as a grassroots approach. And it's really important for me that we address the issues collaboratively, and that we're hearing all the citizens, and that we come up with a solution that can work for everyone. So I'm not bringing this back to debate and try to win. I just really want to hear what your concerns are. Like, it sounds to me like your concern is the timing. So making sure that there's enough time between when something is introduced and when citizens can be able to vote. And I think that makes absolute sense. So that would be addressed in 308. And I think that we can deal with that differently. If we want to, when we talk about 308, we can rework that, or we can keep it as is. Here is, again, just the opportunities for citizens comment. I like the fact that you're saying that we can not have that public hearing if there's no legislation, because that's, you know, kind of the challenge. If we're not having, if we're just going to repurpose that third Tuesday meeting as a special regular meeting, which is a lot of time what we've been doing, then I think that is where, for the citizens, they're coming in like, well, do I need to be at this meeting? And this is what I'm getting from my own constituents, because I do have a lot of people who, you know, are similar to me and where they are in their life. And so they do come to me asking me questions about what's going on. They want to be involved. I'm trying to share information with them. So I think that is, for me, moves us closer to what my objective is, right? Like, have meetings when we need to have meetings, rather than just having meetings for the sake of having meetings. So if we can get to a place where we say, okay, we're going to have that public hearing when it's necessary to have it. And we can that could either be schedule it when it's needed or cancel it when it's not needed. Either way, it's getting to the same point of we're only having the meeting when it's necessary. Is that fair?
I'm sorry, go ahead. Is that a question for Mr. Herring?
Yeah, because I really respect Mr. Herring's tenure on, you know, the council and what his experience has been, and, you know, how we've gotten here. And I don't want to discount or have anyone feel like their perspectives are being discounted, meaning the citizens, particularly those who have been, you know, the people whose shoulders we're standing on right now. So again, that's why I keep bringing this back, because I don't want to ignore those voices. I want to make sure that we incorporate it, but I also want to do it in a way that the people that we're going to be looking to, you know, fill these roles. I know, Mr. Herring, you don't want to be on the council for forever. You know, there are people who are engaged enough to participate so that when it's their time to step up, they are able to step up. And if they feel that it's something that they can take ownership of. So sorry, President Curtis.
No, it's fine. My screen just did something weird. Okay, so, and I don't know if I'm throwing a wrench into this, but I've heard several things. And a couple things that I've written down. So what I'm hearing is that, you know, citizens are talking to different people. You know, citizens are talking to Mr. Herring, citizens are talking to Ms. Jones and Councilman Fareed. I think that we should have a discussion of how we can find middle ground that accomplishes all that we need to, because not one citizen's comment is more important than the other. All of our citizens' comments are important. So we shouldn't weigh one citizen's comment more than we weigh another. So we want to incorporate feedback, 100% on board with that. In reading the public hearing, I do read it as if though it is an optional hearing. It's not a mandatory hearing, aside from what we've voted on, or what a resolution has been enacted in the past, I understand. But public hearing is when it is considered a subject of having unusually high community impact, generate potentially more citizen participation than can be accommodated at a regular meeting with its normal business activities, like ARPA funds. Like, you know that that's going to require more feedback, so we're going to need a public hearing for that. And so I'm in agreement with Councilwoman Fareed as it relates to the 307 piece of what does it mean by public feedback? Do we have to have it in a public hearing, or can we have it at our regular meetings with citizens' comments? Now, it's a lot to digest as it relates to the voting piece. I do think that there's 307 and 308, that's kind of challenging to separate the two to some people. I get that. But my overall goal is that we don't have to put things into one bucket. Right, we have ordinances, we have charter resolutions, we have regular resolutions, and I do consider charter resolutions and ordinances to be of more significant than regular resolutions, because it's ordinance our law and charters is just like our constitution. So we should be careful in how we edit those and put those into practice. But resolutions are expression of our opinion. We pass resolutions to pay for things. And while I do think that citizens should know where their tax dollars are going, they can. This doesn't prohibit them from seeing where it goes. I think that the business of the city, as it relates to regular operational business, should move a lot faster than it is now. I don't think that we should be working on a resolution this week and the first week of April, and we can't pass the resolution that's related to the normal course of business until 6 weeks from now. That slows things down. We can't get things done. Businesses probably don't want to do business with us if we're going to be moving that slow. So I think there's a way that we can find middle ground by dissecting all of these components, ordinances, charter resolutions, and regular resolutions. And we, as elected officials, well, we were hired to do this. We were hired to run the business of the city, and that piece needs to be done a lot more quicker than we're currently doing it now. So that's my piece on it. I think maybe we could find some work and find the middle ground. An idea that I had was sticking in the same vein with Ms. Fareed and with you, Councilman Herring, is that maybe we switch it. Maybe we have our work session the first week, the public hearing, if necessary, the second week, and the regular meeting the third week. That way, if it's something that rises to the stakes of, oh, it's going to require more input, then the input is had during a public hearing during the second week. If it's not, we don't have it. But if it's just a regular resolution, then it's worked on in the work session, and it gives 2 weeks before the regular session for people to research, do everything they need to do, and then in that third week, we'll come back to vote on it and have citizens comments on it. It will give citizens 2 weeks to reach out before then as well, and then we can move forward with it. So that's my spill on it. I don't want to do a filibuster. So, Mr. Hairston, I see your hand. And Ms. Jones, go ahead.
So my question is so I'm getting lost. Is this for to save us time for the sake of time, or is this for citizen involvement? heard two
I'm sorry.
different things. Like I heard that, you know, citizens wasn't sure, or am I getting it mixed up between 307 and 308? Like maybe, you know, Councilwoman Fareed can answer that for me, but I'm getting lost on if this is about citizen involvement or if it's for the sake of time.
So for 307, it's to simplify down to one meeting when citizens can provide comments. So right now, as a citizen, if I wanted to give comment on legislation and I also wanted to give comments on, my bushes need to be cut, I would need to attend two separate meetings. I would need to attend the public hearing and then the regular session, and then at the end of the regular session. So what 307 is changing the format of the meetings and saying that as a citizen, if I want to comment on legislation and I want to provide, talk about my bushes, I come to that one meeting, I provide my comments on the legislation and I provide my comments on, my bushes. Now, 308 is dealing with soon after we hear that comment, can we vote? So just again, 307 is dealing with the citizens needing to only attend one meeting to provide both types of comments. So basically taking the hearing of the public into the regular meeting. And that does not mean, like, if we're talking about ARPA, that we do that at the start of the regular meeting. That definitely rises to the occasion of needing its own distinct public hearing for whatever date we set it. I hope that clarified.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
And also agree that, we don't have to rush this. We can take our time to work it out. This is part of diplomacy, to find middle ground to what works for our citizens. So it's not a rush to pass this right now. It's let's work on it. Let's see what's best for our citizens in the city, and then we move on it. Are there any other, Ms. Jones? I don't know if you ever put your hand down.
I
So
took it
do you have
down,
another comment?
brought it back up again. I take it down every time I'm done, but I put
Okay,
it
I
back up.
apologize.
Okay.
Ms. Jones.
My assumption for 308 was also to expeditiously pass legislation, which I think, I believe that is an issue that we need to address. Your suggestion, and maybe Mr. Herring can help me out, because I looked in the charter and it's only in the council rules where it says that we have to have a meeting on the first Monday for the work session and the second Monday for regular meeting. The public hearing, we had it as a council after we came on board in 2017. I think we did a consensus and said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have our public hearings on the third Tuesday in order for legislation to be brought forth. But maybe the suggestion that you've presented may be worthwhile to look into, because of the fact if you have the work session to present a piece of legislation and we work through it, and then we have a public hearing on the next for the next meeting, and then the third meeting we use for regular to go ahead and vote on it, would expeditiously move legislation along. It wouldn't be a whole 6 weeks before we go through the process, but the process would be simplified in 1 month. That's something that I can agree to do. But as far as not giving the citizens an opportunity to have a public hearing, which is a resolution, a charter resolution in our charter. And like I said, maybe Mr. Herring can help me out with this, because like I said, I didn't see anywhere in the charter where it said the meeting had to be held on the second, the work session had to be the first, and the regular meeting had to be the second. It's in our council rules. Now we can change our council rules. Instead of having this 08 as a charter resolution, if we're going to do anything else to it, it's going to have to go back up on the wall for 21 days before we can do anything anyway, if we do any changes to it. But if this is something that the council would want to research and think about as changing the meetings around to make the process a little faster for bringing resolutions forth and having them voted on, I think that would be a viable idea, And there was something else that wasn't, that I didn't see in the charter either. But yeah, that's something that, you know, as far as moving legislation along expeditiously to get vendors paid and get work done, I think that that would be a great idea. And all we would have to do is change the council rules to say we'll have our meetings on the first Monday is a work session, the second Monday or Tuesday is the public hearing, and then the third in the third week we would vote on whatever is coming to the floor. And also, when we started doing this in 2017, when I came on board, we did not. This was when they instituted that public hearing. It made the meetings a lot. It just made things a lot better. You know, there was a sense of structure that we had, and it moved along. But public hearing was never used for any other thing than the public hearing. If we didn't have legislation, we didn't have a meeting. So, but I understand with this new council coming on and the things coming up that we have to address, that we use, if we have the time, that we can use it for other things that need to be addressed. Thank you.
Mr. President, may I, right quick?
It's well, Miss Ferguson had her hand up.
Okay, good.
If she wants to concede, it's fine, but she had her hand up.
No,
And
I
I'll
can
come
yield,
to you,
I
Mr.
can
Harris.
yield, Mr. Harris.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just want to concur with Councilwoman Jones that, and that's exactly what happened in 2000, was it 17, 18, something like that? Yeah, we actually that Tuesday was just a placeholder. It was something new we were doing. We said, okay, let's throw it in on this Tuesday and we'll see how it works out over time. So like I said, I'm not adverse to changing the day if we want to change the day. The chart only says we got to have one regular meeting a month, no less than one. So if that's what we want to do, but like I said, I mean, it was something new that we were trying. We had just passed the charter resolution and we needed to, you know, put that into action, and we just used that Tuesday. So I mean, moving the days around, if we want to move them around, I just think that if we do move the regular meeting to the third Monday, that it be advertised very clearly, because people have been used to coming to the meeting on the second Monday of the month for 80 years. So,
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Councilwoman Ferguson.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I concur with that method that you suggested, because if you really walk it down, actually the way we're doing it now with passing the legislations, it consists of 5 meetings in 6 weeks. Whereas if we go with the work session, the public meeting, and the regular meeting, it will be 3 meetings in 3 weeks. Because we have, like today, we use this this month. So we had a work session now. So we're presenting this legislation, the new legislation. Then we have a regular meeting. So we're voting on that which we presented in March. Then we have the public meeting and we discuss what we brought to the work session. Then we have a 4th week in the month. Then the next month we have the work session again. Then the 6th week was the regular meeting. We vote on what we brought in the work session the last month. So that way, if we do the work session, the public meeting, and the regular meeting, the citizens will have not only have they will have the work session to listen and work like we're working it now. Then the public meeting, so that's 7 days. Then they have the public meeting, and then they can speak on what they have to speak. So it's a total of 14 days, and not to mention that they can call any representative. And then the regular meeting, then we can vote. But I like that, because, like I said, it's sometimes if we bring in a resolution in 1 month, it's not voted on to the next month. And sometimes, citizens have said they've gotten lost, or we're voting on something and they say, I thought we talked about that last month. So again, resolutions or legislations can be introduced, discussed, and voted in 3 weeks and 3 meetings versus 5 weeks, 5 meetings in 6 weeks. So I and like with Councilman Harris said, we just have to ensure that if we do the switch, that we get the information out, because again, the citizens are so used to the first and second days being our major meetings.
Councilwoman Fareed.
Mhm. I just want to say thank you. This is what I was hoping for, just for us to come to a common ground. I love the suggestion. I think so. What I'll do is pull 308, so we don't need a charter resolution, and I'll rework the 307. This is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. I appreciate the council for hanging in there. We've been talking about this for several weeks. So, you know, this is what working it is, and coming up with a solution. I think it will be, you know, amenable, particularly if we cancel that public meeting if it's not actually needed. So I think this is great. Thank you so much. I will work on the revised language and send it out there.
And
And
just
that the citizen who had written me the other day, I don't know if anyone else received that email, has suggested, he mentioned another municipality that did the same. They kind of split their work session and their regular meeting apart so that there was more time in between. But they don't have a public, you know, a designated public hearing, but you know, still, this gives people opportunity, and I'm grateful. Thank you.
I just wanted to highlight what Mr. Heron said, and Ms. Ferguson Sean said, that we have to eliminate the fine print that says on the second Tuesday, because it forces us to have in the past, at least I think the prior 2 months, it had us having the regular meeting on Monday and a public hearing on Tuesday, which would defeat the purpose of splitting it all apart. So if we just say the first week, the second week, and the third week, somewhere around there, I think that'll be fine. All right. Next up, we have Mr. Herron, Mr. Herron and Mr. I'm sorry, Councilman Herron, Councilman Hairston, a resolution to establish a speed bump pilot program.
Okay, this is just in line with a number of issues, and and Councilwoman Ferguson is also on here, because she actually came to me with a citizen's complaint over in here in Ward 1, and I've heard this from other citizens about the speeding in the community. You know how, you know, a lot of citizens start at Glen Parkway and they ride straight down Glen Park. I mean, start at Martin Luther King Highway at the light and ride straight down Glen Parkway and don't stop until they get to Deadwood, running through every stop sign on the way. So I just wanted to look at trying to institute a pilot program for speed bumps, because there's a lot of portable speed bumps you can get out there to put throughout the city, just to get an idea of if you want to put permanent out there. And so this is just a program I think we can use the ARPA funds for, to just lay some out there and put some in each ward, and some of the problem streets in each ward. Each council member look in each ward and see what streets they may want to have. Maybe 3 streets that they may want to put speed humps on. And I'm looking at the humps, not the bumps, because the humps tend to be wider and less do less damage to your car than the bumps. So that's just a program I was looking at trying to get. And I think we use the ARPA funds for that. And
I'm sorry. Can you say that? Can you say that again? I got confused with the humps.
The speed humps and the bumps. Yeah.
Yes.
Bumps tend to be higher, and your car tends to go over, and it can scrape the bottom of a car, a low riding car. The humps tend to be wider and lower. So it's much less chance of you damaging the bottom of your exhaust system when you're going over the humps versus the bumps. The bumps are what's on.
So we're going for the humps
Parkway right now. Those are bumps. It's a lot of people. If you have a low riding car, you have a time getting over those. So I was looking at I was looking at the humps, you know, in some places throughout the city, so that we can at least see how they work to slow down some of this traffic. I've stood outside of my house and watched on rush hour and just car after car running through the stop sign, you know, and I've seen that all over the city. You know, it's dangerous. We got a lot of kids out here, and somebody's going to get hit. Somebody really is going to get hurt. You know, so I thought it was a nice pilot program that we can try to do to at least slow the traffic down somewhat in the community throughout in the central, in these neighborhoods, especially with these streets being as narrow as they are and cars parked on both sides, they don't need to be speeding up and down these streets. So it was just an idea.
Councilman,
I wanted to put out there.
okay. Councilwoman Jones.
Yeah, they're also called quiet tables, like over if you're coming out of Northeast going into Mount Rainier, you'll see that they have the guy that did our paving over here in the Ward 3 area where they left off at, the hump that he put in was a whole lot, was more in line with the quiet tables where they're much wider and they're it's not as high where it would mess up your car. But he did a good job on the one right there at Cousins and Jeff. Or is it, no, that's Gary Lane and Cousins, that there was a speed hump there that the developer put in for us from the Woodmore project, but he took that up when he did the repaving and put in a nice quiet, to me, I call it a quiet table.
Not to ride over there.
Yeah.
And where is that located?
It's on right before you get to Cousins. It's because it's in the middle of Jeff and Cousins.
Okay.
Like going out towards Lavelle. And most of the residents over here from First Street all the way to 11th Street, they want all the way down Glenarden Parkway speed humps. That's all they ask for.
I would agree. I mean, just the other day, my wife was yelling at someone who was speeding down the street, telling them to slow down. And former Mayor Joyce mentioned something about it as well. Coming down Sir Michael, coming from the town center, the shopping complex down Sir Michael, and then turning and just having a straightaway all the way down Glenarden Parkway. It's constant speeding. So yeah, definitely agree. Councilman Fareed.
Yes, I think that we need to, I think this is an awesome idea, number one. We do have an area of Glenarden Parkway though that has not been turned over to the city yet. And that's the portion that's in Woodmore Town Center. We really need to stay on the county about that, because DR Horton will schedule a meeting with DPI for them to come and do the inspection. That has not been scheduled as far as I know. And the street on Sir Michael, the same thing. And then the working with the Woodmore Town Center HOA, because some of those streets, I think that I have to look at the map. Some of the streets belong to the Woodmore Town Center, but they could do speed humps. So it needs to be a collaborative thing. That Woodmore Town Center HOA has met. I've been to the meeting because this was their concern, the speeding, because it's just like a freeway. I think the other thing is, and I don't know how this works or who makes the decision, putting dividers down the street, because you have people flying down the street coming, like on Glenarden Parkway, they're just riding down the middle of the street and they're flying, right? It's supposed to be a two-way street. So I don't know how we get dividers in like there are in Glenarden Parkway, but that portion is wider. So maybe what we need to do is kind of put together a comprehensive traffic plan, but I don't want to stop this because they kind of already put the legislation forward, but just for us to think about the additional phases of this traffic safety.
Okay. Mayor Cross, I see your hand is up. This is,
Yes, thank you, Council President. My question was, we had a briefing from Senye a while back, and they were talking about traffic calming measures. Did the City Council come to any conclusion? Because they are also able to put in those traffic calming speed humps and traffic cameras as well throughout the city, and is willing to put that in for free, and we don't have to put the ARPA funds against it. Thanks.
Ms. Herron, is that something that,
My thing, the reason why I don't want to do these because they're portable and you can move them around for the time being. Because last time we had speed humps in the community, it was, I mean, you had a lot of outcry, you had this, you had that, but I just think that we need to just see firsthand. I mean, will they work? You know, I mean, where we put them, you know, and I can't believe anybody's going to do anything for free.
But that's it. They'll
Um,
do it for free. We just have to get the
Well-
assessment done.
it's something, Mr. Herron, that maybe you could connect with the mayor on.
Yeah, I'll
and-
look into that, but I would like to still move this forward, you know, even if it's just a pilot program and we can just see how it works throughout the city in some of these places, you know. I mean, I'm not, yeah, I'll get with the mayor on that. I'll see what information she got. Cause yeah, but I would still like to move forward with this one.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Ferguson and Mr. Harrison, for taking the leadership role on this. I think it's greatly needed in the community. A resolution to retain engineering services for stormwater management. I believe that, I'm sorry.
Needs to be signed a number.
But that has to come for a public hearing.
Hmm?
These have to come for a public hearing. So we don't have a number yet. Unless I want to sign a number to it already.
We normally sign it at the work session.
Question is, okay, I don't remember because,
At the work session.
oh,
I mean, once we decide we're gonna go forward with it, then we do it at the work session.
that's fine with
Oh.
me. Yeah.
But I mean, it's up to everyone.
Oh, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, normally, yeah, once we decide we're gonna go, yeah, we're gonna bring it forth. Ms. Taylor used to sign the her number.
Okay. Ms. Councilwoman Ferguson, do you mind if we assign all, because we have some more to go through. Do you mind if we assign those numbers for the sake of time at the public hearing? Did you freeze?
No, I didn't. I'm just looking at you.
We don't, if that's not the route you want to take, if you want to assign numbers to each of these, I mean, you're certain to, but, you know, we could see all the ones that we're going to bring forward, assign those numbers and advertise them for the public hearing.
I asked for a number be assigned.
Okay.
Because a lot of times what happens is that when they're posted, then they don't have numbers.
Okay. Council Clerk, what is the next number for the resolutions?
I'm checking right now. I believe it's 22, but I just want to make sure that I'm
Okay.
I confirm that. Yes, that number would be 22.
Is that for the speed bumps or the storm? Okay.
Yeah, that would be, okay, so
For
the,
speed, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
so resolution R22-2022 will be issued for a resolution to establish a speed bump pilot program.
Oh, man.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I thought I lost y'all. I didn't.
Oh. And so, Ms. Ferguson, that'll mean that the, oh, we haven't even moved on to second yet. Sorry.
Mhm.
Okay. Was that all, Councilwoman Ferguson?
Yes.
Okay. A resolution to retain engineering services for stormwater management.
Yeah, this is another piece of legislation that I would like to introduce along with Councilman Harrison. You know, as you know, Councilman Harrison has been working over in the Frost development with their flooding issue, and I actually have a flooding issue over here. So he was, he wanted to sponsor this with me. Over here on Fisk Avenue, we behind Glen Woods Elementary School, it's become a major water issue over there with flooding in the backyard. And basically what happened is when they remodeled the Glen Woods Elementary School, the ground, the bare ground and grass area behind the school, they paved over a big chunk of it. Therefore, it no longer held back the water. So now the water's running off the school property, down the hill into these people's yard. One citizen invited me over to her house and asked me to go step on her cement patio, and it started sinking in the ground. Air bubbles were coming up. So obviously the soil is being compromised. One day she's gonna step on it and it's gonna go down probably about 6 feet or so. So there's a major issue with that runoff. Technically by law, if any owner of a property, no owner of a property is allowed water to run off onto somebody else's property that's going to cause damage. So I've been working on this for a while. Reached out to the school, they're like, it's not our property. Reached out to parking planning, it's not, they say it's not their property. It's not the city's property. So what I would like to get is an engineering study just to see what we could do to remediate that. The first thing I would like them to do is identify who owns the property. Because once we have that property identified, we can actually go after that person. But in the meantime, if we can't find out who owns it, I would like to get a cost study done to see what it would take to remediate the water running into these citizens' backyard. And it's a stretch between Tyler and Glen Parkway. And what I'd like to get a cost study for is because I like to have some numbers, because if we got to do an RFP, then we'll have everything in place if we can't find the owner of that property, or if the owner is the city of Glenarden. So, I mean, it's a major issue for them. They've lived there. People lived there 50 years and never had a water issue because there was always enough trees and vegetation to hold back the water. Now the water is just running down into their yards like it's a river. So it's a major issue, and I like to have that looked into, and I like to use the ARPA funds for that, to look at the stormwater management. And there's also a major spring down there that needs to be addressed at the end of Tyler and Fisk that just that runs all the time, 24/7. And we've had that looked at, checked on by WSSC. They're like, it's fresh spring water, it's not their water. So it's a spring down there that needs to be that's basically damaging the street because it's a constant run of water coming out the street.
Okay.
All right.
Any questions, council members? And okay, well, Councilwoman Ferguson, we can give that 23.
Yes.
Okay. A resolution to retain engineering services for street paving.
Yeah, this is another one, especially for Ward 3. I mean, we have been dragging this on like for years with Ward 3 being paved. I think it has been about 6-7 years that they have not been paved. Like I say, Ward 1, my ward has been paved. We've been paved twice, once by the city and then again by WSSC when they did pipe work. Ward 2 has been paved with pipe work. Ward 3, we put it off at one time because they were doing work over there, but then they did patch jobs at paving it. The whole ward needs to be paved. As well as there's a number of streets in wards 1 and 2 also that needs to be repaired. I mean, like on Glen Parkway, riding down Glen Parkway, I can't remember what street is called, what the cross street is, but you can see where the dirt is coming up through the blacktop. So the blacktop has been compromised. So we need some repair work done in wards 2 and wards 3. And I think we just need to go ahead and just get a whole cost assessment so that we can put out an RFP like soon. Now that the weather's breaking and the blacktop houses are opening back up, to get this work started and get it done, at least have it done by the late summer. So I just would like to get an engineering firm to come out there and just give us a complete cost assessment on what it's going to take to repair and repave these streets in the rest of the city.
Forget Fulton got a hole at the bottom of it. Fulton
Right.
Avenue, they got that big hole. It's been there for a while too.
And McLean, they're down the dirt too. So like I said, in Ward 3, just on Glen Parkway, just once you cross over, you can tell you're crossing over onto Old Road when you cross over Bright Sea Road, because the street there in Glen Parkway, it's terrible. You know, so I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it needs to be repaired. I mean, it needs to be milled. You know, we hit some of the number streets, but we stopped, you know, and so we really need to just do the rest and get it all done.
Okay.
And I just want to get a cost estimate from that.
Councilwoman Jones. I'm sorry, Ms. Terry, what were you finished?
Go ahead, go ahead. I'm done. Go ahead.
Ward 3 already has an assessment that was done by CPJ, and also CPJ also did an assessment for Oak Knoll Drive over there. It's just that the administration, the prior administrations just dragged their feet about getting the work done to get to have the monies in the budget to do Ward 3, because that's always been, when Ms. Pfeiffer was on the council, there was money was allocated to do the Ward 3 streets, but they've just been dragging their feet. I mean, last summer, it was last summer, but Barcroft was done. Mr. George, former city manager George, he got it moving, and he went in the budget and said, okay, we got the money to do this. He got Barcroft done. He got Lavelle Court done. He got Lavelle done. He got some of Gary done, and he got the parking lot done up at the city hall. So it's just a matter of either we put out another RFP to get someone to come and do, because to have the work done, or we've been trying to reach Mr. The gentleman that did the work for Mr. George. So I'm not sure. There's already the assessment from CPJ that we spent money for to do Ward 3.
Mr. President, may I?
Yes, sir.
But the problem is the war in the Ukraine and the oil prices going up. The last time we had this happen, when we did Ward 1, we got an assessment in Ward 1 to get the streets done in Ward 1, and it was about $160,000. When we got over to wards, and then we were going to do Ward 2 and Ward 3, and when we got to Ward 3, I think it was the Iraqi war broke out. Oil prices rose. The price went from $175,000 for Ward 3 to $1.1 million, because Blacktop uses crude oil to make it. So it might not be the same price because the oil prices have jumped up so high. So that's why I was saying we probably need to get another assessment, because like I said, they probably won't give us the same price that they gave us previously before the war, because oil prices have gone up, and like I said, crude oil is used for Blacktop. So I think we need to look at that and be sure, you know, before we engage them. And maybe we reach out to CPJ and see what they say. I just wanted money in the budget to just cover their fee and had them look at it again before we get started. And it might not have changed, but they can let us know. You know, and then we can move forward with an RFP to get it done and get started on it. But other locations, I know they haven't looked at the ones in Ward 2, those streets there. And Ward, and I think I don't have too many in Ward 1. I don't have too many issues in Ward 1. Those are WSSC issues I got to get with them on. I got to get with the city manager on that to get WSSC back out here to address some of these sinkholes. So yeah, but there are a few. But I just think that with the price of oil gone up as high as it has, I know Blacktop has probably more than tripled, if not quadrupled in price now. So I just want to just see and look at that and see.
Councilman Harris, point of clarification. So are you asking for us to have money in the budget for this engineering services for FY23, or are you asking that that it be done now in FY22?
Right now, because we've already approved the ARPA funds, so I just want to get it. I just want to get the assessment done and get it so that when we move forward with it, and we're looking at FY, and really, since we approved the ARPA funds, we can do it now. And if we get the assessment and get it done and get the RFP out.
Okay. All right, council, goodness gracious. City Manager Bobber, is that something that you can put on your list of priorities, immediate priorities?
Right, so I had been talking with Councilwoman Jones about trying to reach out to the other contractor that did the streets previously with no luck. So we can make it a priority. We do have on-call services with CPJ. So I'm sure that they would be willing to work us into their schedule so we could get something done immediately.
Okay. Thanks. Take it that if we could get it done and get a good price, and then we can put that in the budget for FY23, right?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Any other questions as it relates to the street pavement? Okay. Next up is I'm sorry, did we give that a number? This will be
Number 24 for the engineering services for street paving.
okay, thank you. Next up, a resolution to establish a health and wellness committee. Ms. Fareed, Councilwoman Fareed.
Thank you. So looking at the powers that the council has, we have the powers to kind of establish committees, but also to provide and maintain and operate community and social services for the preservation and promotion of health and recreation and welfare. And then on a more kind of a regulatory perspective, we have the right to preserve the health of the city inhabitants and appoint a public health officer, et cetera. Right now, we don't have any people who are in those roles. And so I would like for us to establish a health and wellness committee that can, one, help us identify programming that can promote the health and wellness for all citizens, all ages. Maybe do things like a 5K run walk, or have a health and wellness fair. I think I saw that on Ms. Robinson's presentation. Just types of programs that we can do to kind of promote that wellness. Also have that committee focus on what types of infrastructure improvements they will recommend. I'm thinking things like sidewalk improvements. If you walk or run the city, it's difficult because the sidewalks are cracked up, you know, as we go along. So when I'm talking about infrastructure improvements, I'm thinking that, you know, that committee would identify those types of things that the council should consider spending funds on for improvement to increase the walkability score of the city. And then a third component, which we probably would have not been thinking about prior to this pandemic, is having qualified individuals in place to interpret any rules that come down should we kind of go into another pandemic, and just be able to help us understand how we can implement whatever rules there are, advise us on what would be the best thing, like when should we reopen, when should we go back in person, if we go back in person, you know, what would be the proper ways to do that. So this committee is not a department, because I didn't want to add, you know, I didn't want to add like employees on to it, although we do have the power to do that. But I'm thinking that this committee would be people who are qualified to be able to kind of assist with that type of decision-making process. They would not make the decision. They would just be kind of coming up with recommendations to provide to the city for us to evaluate.
Okay. Any questions on that piece of legislation?
Yeah, Mr. President.
Yes, sir. Councilman Harry.
Yes, on your line 38, where it says, whereas the city council desires to have qualified individuals who can engage with county and state health agencies to understand any directives related to COVID-19. I think that should be much broader. I think that, you know, COVID-19 isn't the only major health issue that we're dealing with, especially in the African-American community, with breast cancer and colon cancer and, you know, other kind of health issues, kidney issues. I think we should broaden that to say, whereas help understand any directives related to related to the health and safety or health and welfare of our citizens or in the community or something. I think it seems like we're focused on COVID-19 when there's so many other things out here also that it's taking us out as African Americans, especially.
Right. So, okay, so I can probably clarify that more in the language, but line 31 and 32 would be to address those broader issues. What I was trying to get at specifically with 38, 39, and 40 is like when, you know, if the county is like, okay, we have a shut-in order or whatever it means, right? Like that we're in a pandemic and there's these directives from the county and the state, and how do we implement those, right? Like when they say we can reopen, okay, we'll reopen, but what does that reopening look like? Should we have, you know, testing for people coming in, that type of thing? That's what I was trying to get at with that third point, was more so their ability to interpret the, I don't know if rules is the right word, but whatever comes down from the state or the county, and how we should implement them in this city. And it's probably not specific to COVID-19, but it's more kind of emergency pandemic type of things that I'm talking about in that case.
Related to, so more directives related to a pandemic or?
Yeah, and that's specifically speaking to the power that the council has around quarantining and identifying people for isolation, and all that type of stuff that it says in the charter. So helping us interpret what that means. And I'm thinking that it needs to be people who are versed in that type of thing, you know, medical professionals, not just lay people.
Now, on number 45, your number 1, it says that the council will commence a search for a chairperson. Normally the committee is established and they pick from amongst themselves a chairperson.
Okay.
Council doesn't normally pick the chairperson.
Okay.
That's
So I
normally
wasn't sure. Yeah, I know that happened before. I don't know what happens when we're establishing a new committee. So if we're establishing a new committee, what should be the first step?
what you really should be doing is saying how many people you want on a committee.
Okay.
How many people you want on a committee, and then they need to establish the bylaws, and we need to come up and we need to review the bylaws and approve them.
Okay.
So you should put the number of people that you want on your committee.
And they would then establish the bylaws.
Yeah, number 1, the committee shall consist of 5 members, and then whatever criteria you want to put down for them to be on the committee.
Okay.
You know, like number 1 could be the committee will consist of 5 members from the community of Glenarden. 2, these committee members shall be experienced in some type of the health field or something like that.
Okay. Okay, I'll do that.
Is my screen showing the resolution?
Yeah.
Okay. Councilwoman Jones.
So this committee is going to be a committee formed of citizens from the city of Glenarden, or you bringing in other folks from other places? And so this is not going to be a new department in the city of Glenarden. It's going to be volunteer committee.
Right. I mean, but we can decide if we want to make it a department. I just didn't want to propose it as a department right now because I don't know that we have the money to kind of fund and pay the types of people that would need to be leading. It's like a department head, you know. I think they might be a doctor or somebody, and I don't know that we can afford to pay them. But if we think that that's the right thing to do to establish a department for that, then we can certainly do that.
So once again, the committee is going to be made up of citizens from the city of Glenarden that have this type of background.
Right. I don't know if there's a requirement, but maybe Ms. Jones, you know, is there a requirement like that says that any committee members have to be citizens of Glenarden or residents of Glenarden? I assume so, but
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are there any other questions, Ms. Jones? Were you?
No, I'm sorry.
It looked like Mr. Harrison.
Oh, sorry. Councilman Harrison?
I'm good, thank you. I dropped my hand.
Okay. Madam Clerk, which number is this?
Okay, so this number is a resolution, I'm sorry, 25, resolution to establish a health and wellness committee.
Councilwoman Fareed, the resolution to use ARPA funds for the 7th Street Park.
Okay, are you gonna bring that one up?
Yes.
So in January of 2022, the Treasury Department issued an FAQ around how funds can be used, and they did clarify that funds could be used for things like parks, all in the vein of promoting public health. And as a result of kind of the ensuing insidiousness of COVID-19 and other health disparities, to Councilman Herring's point. So we have the funds available for the 7th Street Park. I know that we passed the resolution last year to begin the search for a design company and to begin the search for a grant. But we have the money now and we can move forward. I went over to 7th Street the week before last, spoke with some of the residents. Again, they're, very upset by the fact that there is nowhere close for them and their children to be able to play. We have materials from different vendors who do parks. So this is something that we can move on. We have the funds for it. It's, these people who design parks kind of have parks ready to just be installed, and this can really be implemented as a community event. So I would like to just move us forward on this and not wait until, I think the fall was when the projection was for looking at a grant.
Any questions from the council? Okay. Madam Clerk, I believe this is 26, correct?
Yes, resolution R 26, 2022, a resolution to use ARPA funds for the 7th Street Park.
Okay. Next up, a resolution to censor Mayor Christina A. Cross. So I believe everyone has a copy of this resolution. I do believe, well, I'll just do it this way. I'll open it up to questions from the council. Any questions, anything that's been left out, anything that should be added based on what has been provided to you? I do believe there was, so I did read through the resolution today. And so unfortunately, it wasn't able to get up before this meeting, but it will be posted online. So just if all the council members are good with where it is now, then we can move forward with it and post it. Any questions, concerns? Okay, so that will be posted after some minor edits. I think I emailed the council just some minor edits before it goes public, so it could be nice and neat. But Madam Clerk, that will be 27.
27.
Yes, so resolution 27-2022, a resolution to censor Mayor Christina A. Cross.
Yes. Okay. Next up, a resolution authorizing a contract with Municipal Solutions LLC to engage in conducting a compensation survey for staff. Sorry, I believe that was Councilman Fareed. I could be wrong.
So that came from the administration.
Oh, Ms. Barber, sorry.
Right. So thank you for the opportunity to present this resolution to you. So in talking with Mayor Cross and the Human Resources Specialist about the upcoming budget, one of the things that we wanted to make sure is that we were looking at salaries that were concurrent with what the market will bear for the similar type of positions that we have here in local government. You all had done in the past, I forget, I don't know exactly how many years ago it was, but had done in the past a compensation study, but it has been a number of years. We had some discussion, I think a few months ago when I first came on board, when we were talking about hiring the treasurer, and then also the public works director, and the chief of police and myself about those salaries. And so we thought it would be good to just do an overall compensation survey for the staff, so we could look at all the positions so that we are making sure that we're keeping current and being agile and competitive with our pay for the positions here in the city. And so we did an RFP that went out. It was posted in the Prince George's Post, and we had 2 respondents that came back with proposals. Municipal Solutions is the lowest price of those proposals that we had, with the scope of work that was included in the RFP. And so this is a resolution to authorize that contract with Municipal Solutions LLC to do the work. They did indicate that they could do the work in time for us to include those figures in our upcoming budget, and that was very important for us. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer those.
Yes, Councilwoman Fareed.
Thank you, Ms. Barber. So I like that Municipal Solutions is the lowest price, but what are they going to provide to us? I'm looking at the comparative salary survey that was done by ROC Consultancy and basically they just went into the public records of these municipalities, their budget, and wrote down the amount. They really didn't do anything in terms of analysis to say kind of what recommended salaries would be or what the recommended range would be. So I would just want to be cautious that we're not paying them to just create an Excel sheet for us, but they're giving us some analysis on, what we should be paying. I don't know if you have this. Do you have this?
No, I don't have.
I'll drop a copy off to you.
Okay.
Here.
Right. So what Municipal Solutions will do is they will look at each job position, and they will do an analysis of the job position and make sure that it's inclusive with the job description. And then they will also contact other like-sized municipalities to see if there are equivalent job classes, and that those jobs are in those job classes. And then they will put together pricing based on, not pricing, but amounts of what the salary range is for those jobs, so that we can see if we fall within the range for those different jobs. If that answers your question.
Thank you. I'll drop this off to you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Jones.
Thank you. I also looked at both of those proposals. I thought the other company was way overpriced. But I'm also wondering what our human resource specialist, what she can add to the company that the city has chosen, the administration has chosen.
Yep, Ms. Schultz is on the line.
Good evening. The company will also look at our benefit packet to see if if we have comparable benefits to other like-sized municipalities. One thing that the company does not have to do for us is to write all of our position descriptions, because our position descriptions have been rewritten in 20, and they were reviewed by the attorney. So I feel comfortable that our position descriptions, with maybe a minor tweak depending on the new the way we are changing, is comparable. And other than that, Miss Barbara named everything else. They're going to compare us to other like municipalities. They're going to do analysis, and I have suggested that they give us a beginning, middle, and end range, not just one salary. I don't need 25 steps, but I would like to be able to have some place to start, a middle ground, and then eventually work up to a full ground. They're going to do that, the analysis, look at our benefit packet, and Ms. Barber, what they're going to look at possibly part of our performance award program or a performance evaluation.
Yes, they were going to look at the performance evaluation.
Performance evaluation as well, yes. So there's a number of items that that was on the RPF that we gave them that they've committed to if they're selected.
So
the only thing is that they said that I told them that no, if we go with them, what is the earliest we can get it? Because we do want to include it in the new budget. And they said we get them something, they may can have something for us in 30 days. So depending on when we move on this, how fast that 30-day clock starts.
So is this a company that's has been used by other municipalities in our area?
Yes, I found them only because City of Brunswick reached out to me beginning right before COVID hit. And they used them. And so I remembered the name because it's not a name. And they also did, I think it's Law. It's well, City of Law.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one or two other ones local. I've got specs on them from doing stuff in Alaska, which we don't need, but so they have sent us some specs of some of the other cities that they have done, but they have done one or two municipalities here in the state.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Barber.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions related to that? And Ms. Barber, they're also doing the police public safety as well. It's all encompassing, right? It's just not.
That's correct.
Okay, all right. Next up is a resolution to declare city property surplus and approve auction of the property.
Point of order.
Sorry.
Did we add a number to number? Did we give a number to a resolution authorizing a contract with Municipal Solutions? Was that number assigned?
No, that a resolution number would be resolution number 28-2002, a resolution authorizing a contract with Municipal Solutions LLC to engage in conducting a comprehensive survey for staff.
Thank you, Council Clerk.
Thank you. And we
Thank
did
you,
give one. We did give one to the censure of the mayor, correct? I'm getting them confused now. Okay. I'm sorry, Ms. Barber, you can continue.
Right. So what you have before you is a resolution to declare surplus. The council clerk and I worked together. She had really drafted the resolution and working, I think, with Councilman Herring. And I had indicated to her that we were on the administrative side doing the same thing for a number of surplus items that we had. And these surplus items, while the way the resolution is written, it does say that they will be sold. Many of the items are not able to be sold. We have already contacted GovDeals, which is the online version that we use. We will go ahead and post them here at the City Hall for the public to see if they are interested in the items. But a lot of the items, because of their condition, GovDeals would not take them online. So, some of them will be trashed, really disposed of. But we will put them on display here and also on the website for the public to be able to see those list of items.
Mr. President.
Councilman Harry.
And I think in the charter says that you advertise before you sell them or dispose of them. So why are we even, I mean, can't you put in legislation? I don't know, something about disposing of them, because if it's trash, why are we even going to offer them to anybody? Just throw them away. That's what we normally do.
Well, I was under the impression that even to just throw them away, I needed to have the resolution to dispose of them.
Well, you do, but George is saying so what is this resolution is saying it's going to sell them?
I'm sorry.
I'm looking at the resolution and it's basically saying you're going to auction off to the highest bidder, and I think that's a waste of time if it's trash already. If we say it's surplus and it's not any good, I mean, let's just get rid of it.
Okay.
I mean, that's what we normally would do. I mean, if you want to go through the whole bidding auction thing, I mean, we did that one time before, and I think we got rid of one thing and trashed everything else.
Right. And the only reason that I say the bidding part of it is because we do have some individuals who have expressed an interest in purchasing the items, even though they are not able to be put on GovDeals. There is some interest in buying them because some people believe that they can be rehabbed and they have the skill and expertise to rehab those items.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I said sell it for $100 and be done, but
yeah,
that's y'all call.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Any other comments or questions for our City Manager Barber? Good.
Is is this just on that piece of legislation or that's it?
I'm sorry, say that again, Mr.
Oh,
Harris?
we're just talking about this piece of legislation for questions for the city manager.
Yes.
Okay, I'm good. All right, thanks.
All right. Okay. Last piece of legislation, a resolution. I'm sorry. Do we need to give that a number?
Okay, so this resolution will be resolution number 29, 2022, a resolution to declare city property as surplus and approve auction of the property.
Okay. Next up, a resolution to award Lanham Construction the contract for sidewalk repair and ADA ramp installation.
Right. So this piece of legislation comes to you from the administration. You all have had this, I think, for a little while. And there was some clarity that was asked for at the last time it was brought before the council because there was some incongruencies with the bids. So what we attempted to do is on the 28th, we sent over some information from Lanham Construction that we believe gave some more clarity to the bid from Lanham, that more align what their figures were with the ones from Concreto and from Tibbs so that you could compare apples to apples, because the way that they had originally put in their bid, they had kind of grouped the addresses together as opposed to breaking the addresses out like the other vendors had. So they are still the lowest responsible bidder, and we would like to go ahead and award this contract to them. If you all have any questions, I'd be glad to try and answer those.
Councilman Jones.
Thank you. The question I have is it's still the general provisions of this proposal. And they say at the bottom, customer to obtain and pay for all permits required by the HOAs, the city, the county, and the state. If they get the permits, they're going to charge us $4.95 for each permit, plus the cost of the permit. So if they have to get permits, they're going to charge us $4.95 and then the cost of the permit also. So if they need, what, 3 permits, that's what, $1,500 plus the cost of the permit?
Yes, ma'am.
So I mean, when we've done sidewalk stuff before, that was, I never saw that in, that we were responsible for that. They always, even in the, looking at the other 2 bids that you had, they didn't ask for that, that we would have to be responsible for the permits.
Sure, I'm
And-
sure
and
they
that-
just built it into their costs.
And at the rate of the way the county is going at this juncture, it takes them 6 to 8 weeks to issue a permit to do anything because they're still blaming everything on COVID. I mean, that's my perspective, but I mean, but I do know of some of the businesses that are over in Woodmore that are trying to get up off the ground. That was one of the things they mentioned to me, that it's taken the county 6 to 8 weeks to issue permits for anything. So, I mean.
Right, and
Okay.
I can touch back with Lanham to see what permits they anticipate us having to get. And get that information to you if that's kind of the sticking point for the award of the contract.
Yeah, that is. I'd like to
Okay.
know how many permits they think that they may need, you know.
Sure, I will try and get that information for you before Wednesday.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Harry?
Yes, Ms. Barber, do we even need a permit? I don't think we need a permit because we're replacing a sidewalk. We're not installing a new sidewalk.
Good question.
I don't think we need a permit. I mean, we didn't get, I'm sure we didn't get permits for the other sidewalk work we had done in the city. So I don't even think we need one because we're replacing an existing sidewalk. So I would check that out. I don't think we need one.
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks. Oh, but when you call DPI, don't tell them you're doing sidewalks, just ask them in general.
Right.
Be honest. Gotta be honest.
Right.
To the question, hey, if we replace sidewalks, do you need a permit to replace sidewalks? We got somebody that want to replace some sidewalks. Don't tell them we doing it.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions, comments from the council as it relates to this resolution? So are we holding off giving this? Did you want to give?
No, they can answer that question. We can, I mean, for as far as I'm concerned, that she can get the answer to that question, and we'll have an idea if we, like Mr. Herring said, if we need permits, you know, then they can answer the question as to how many permits they think they're going to need. That we may, you know, I don't want them to turn around. We find out that we don't need a permit, and then they turn around and charge us for some permits, you know, because that's a good question, you know, what the councilman proposed. You know, but as long as I see Johnson Court on here getting paved, I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Barber. Moving on to next piece on the agenda. Keeping in step with what we did last month, the reports were provided to all council members to read ahead. So without having the reports presented this week and next week, I'm just going to open it up for questions on the administrative reports. Council Clerk.
So yes, go ahead and issue Lanham Construction Resolution number 30.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So it's on record. Thank you. I just wanted to confirm that.
Okay. Any questions as relates to the mayor's report?
Mr. President,
Councilwoman
and this is
Perry?
just for any of the the mayor or the city manager who can answer this, or does it just have to be the mayor's report?
No, yeah, all reports will read ahead. So if you have questions related to any of the four.
Well, for the mayor, I have a question because I'm going to share my screen again. Let me see.
Okay.
Let's see, where is it at? Shucks, it isn't here. Let's see, I had to find it. Anyway, but let me ask the city manager a question while I'm looking for this photo. Ms. Barber, the church that meets in the Gold Room, I noticed that they were down in the nutrition center this Sunday. Why are they down there if they have a contract for the Gold Room, and who authorized them to go down there? Because we do not rent the nutrition center. That is not a rental space. So I'm wondering, why are they down in the nutrition center?
To be quite frank, Ms. Robinson and I had that conversation before we moved them down there, but I must apologize that I don't recall the reasoning behind moving them. I know that we are trying to move the Gold Room to a different tier in the services that we provide in the Gold Room. And I believe that we are trying to rent it on additional days for event space. But I did tell Mr. Robinson on Sunday, because I was here on Sunday, that I would double check with her about what our conversation was and get back with him on that. I know that they were not pleased with this space that they had, and I totally understand exactly why. So I did want to talk with Ms. Robinson when she's back in the office tomorrow about that situation, and then talk with the church about that. My understanding is that from talking with Mr. Robinson, that they had been down in the nutrition room while some work was being done in the Gold Room, and then were moved back up into the Gold Room. So if you just give me a couple of days to get this straightened out, we'll have an answer for you, and for Mr. Robinson, and for the church pastor, and for Elder Brown as well.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, they're paying for that Gold Room, and that's where they should be. And no one should be moving them out of the Gold Room. Only jurisdiction that is held by the Gold Room coordinator and the city manager when it comes down to that Gold Room is the Gold Room and the community room over there in Woodmore. Other than that, the downstairs is not, like I said, it's not a rental facility. And if they're paying a contract for that Gold Room, I don't care if it's only 2 people in there for the church. They're paying for it. They have it. I just wanted to know about that. Another issue with that Gold Room again is the podium that's in there. I saw that podium in the pictures that was shown on the why is that not being? Why are renters not being allowed to use that? I mean, we've always allowed renters to use the podium, because there's a microphone on it so that so people can hear what's going on at their event. So, is there any particular reason why they're not allowed to use the podium?
No, I was not told that people weren't allowed to use the podium.
Yes, somebody was.
I can actually, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, actually, I can speak to that and to the previous question about the church, which we can resolve. Yes, the idea is that, of course, Sunday rentals would be something that would be part of the fee schedule in terms of moving forward. With the church having their bylaws needing to start the service at 12 o'clock, it puts us in the position where we are unable to rent that space for, of course, not necessarily the full amount, but meeting a minimum in which we would probably want to meet in terms of hours to make it profitable for us to essentially open the doors for the church. And their concern was that they did not want to pay for any more than 2 hours, but they wanted additional time in terms of setup and breakdown. And so that was something that Ms. Barber and I spoke to about that. Also regarding the podium, based on your current rules and regulations, there is a list of equipment that is provided in which the tables and chairs are what is listed as available items for use. In a normal circumstance, anything regarding a podium AV, sound, or anything like that are additional charges. So currently, based on your current rules and regulations, a podium is not part of available equipment that is there. The podium that was in the pictures that you saw is the better of the two. And in setting up for the church on Sunday, I moved the other one downstairs. So to answer your question, that is not currently listed on your list of items that are available, but in moving forward with current standards, anything that's above and beyond the tables and chairs, which are standard offerings for a rental space, anything for that would be above and beyond as additional equipment, because it currently states that anything above that is the responsibility of the renter.
Okay, with the podium, I see no reason why a renter cannot use a podium that's on wheels that can be rolled out and rolled back at any time. People have used that podium for years, and if we want to put in there that they're gonna, which I think is really nickel and diamond, that you got to pay to use the podium, that's something different. But I mean, it's just been standard to allow somebody to use the podium so that you can be heard in that huge room. As for the church paid for a contract. I don't care how many hours, whatever they pay for is in that contract. They need to be in the gold room. They can't go downstairs. That's not a rental space down there. It's never been a rental space. The only reason we moved them down there last time was because the gold room was shut down because of the roof, and they need to be moved back up there to where their contract said they should be. We're going to discuss any other issues with that, you know, the fee structure or whatever hours the minimum hours or the profitability and all of that stuff later. But right now, their contract says that they should be up in the gold room. So that's where they need to be. It isn't right to have somebody sign a contract and then shoot them down into a smaller room, even though after they don't sign the contract, a room that they didn't even contract for. So I'm hoping that they back up there this Sunday.
Well, Mr. Harry,
and another question also, while I'm thinking about it, because I got another complaint also, is that somebody was dropped off by Metro Access and were made to sit outside till 15 minutes before the event.
So I am not aware of that. I know that with the church, they arrived earlier than their entry time. Again, which goes back to the point of them wanting more time, but not wanting to pay for additional time. But to your previous point regarding the church, Ms. Barber and I had agreed that moving forward, because of the time that they needed, that they would sign a new agreement. So Mr. Elder Brown, who was the only person, according to our conversation, is the authorized person who's a representative for the church, that the other individuals are not. And so they signed a new agreement last week, in which going basically for monthly to keep it consistent with moving forward. Regarding Metro Access, that again, I'm not sure of. I was there at the church one Sunday and they were there early. So it was prior to the rental time in which we told them they could get in. So anything regarding that, based on, again, rules and regulations that you have in place, that everything happens within the rental period that's listed in there. And so the doors were open at the rental period as it relates to what time that they were told the access or the contracted access time was.
Okay, so if somebody's dropped off early and in a wheelchair, they sit outside. Is that what we're saying?
Nobody was in outside to my knowledge. They were in the van.
Okay. I was told they were dropped off in front of the building, and Metro Access normally don't wait. They usually drop you off and go. But they said they were outside. They weren't let in. I'm just telling you what's out there.
Well, I went outside. The Metro Access people were outside, and the person was in the van. So to my knowledge, I don't know of anyone who was just sitting outside that was within the time that the period of rental was. So I'm not aware of it.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Ms. Barber, good trash. I'm getting a whole lot of complaints about good trash. I about had it with this. I mean, I was a big supporter of good trash when they originally had the contract, and I, vouched for them and spoke up for them and supported them. But now there's a lot of changes that's going on that I don't agree with. Let's say I don't know whether I agree with them or not. The fact of the matter is a number of people have put on mattresses, and all of a sudden the goods say, and they're not picking up mattresses unless they're covered.
That's right.
Like you were mentioning. Now that notification never got out to our citizens. I know a number of citizens who put on mattresses and did not get them picked up. So I reached out to the administrative assistant, Michelle, and I asked her, were you notified? And she was like, no. She said she got a call from a citizen And when she realized the good told her in January that, you know, mattresses had to be covered or something.
Okay.
And the people from Good emailed me and said that they notified the city in November, which I know it could not have possibly happened because that would have went out. We would have sent something out. So I'm having a major problem because it seems like they're picking and choosing what they're going to pick up. Bulk trash now, they don't take stoves, refrigerators, and stuff like that. No white, what they call white items. That's your bulk. That's most of the bulk that's put out there. They only take 3 items. People put out a lot of bulk. They take 3 items, and they'll pick the 3 items that they want to consider bulk and put in their truck. And you know, more than likely, it's the lightest stuff. You know, so we got people with trash sitting in front of their house because Good will not pick up this, they won't pick up that. They changing the rules. I mean, I'm sure our contract says something about, you know, any changes in the rules or need to be agreed upon by both parties. But you know, again, and when I was questioning why, you know, the covers for the mattresses, and they go, you know, because the safety of our workers. I'm like, you're picking up trash. You get more from the trash cans than you do from a mattress. They say, you know, for bed bugs. I'm like, you get bed bugs from a chair, from a couch, anything. Bed bugs can be on anything. You know, so I'm having a major issue with them. I think that we may have to either look at that contract or put it out to bid or have a conversation with them and what they're going to offer and what they're not going to offer, and timely notification of when they're going to change the rules. Because a lot of people put out mattresses. I mean, I've gotten pictures after pictures. They send me pictures now for some odd reason, but I don't mind because it lets me see what's going on. But you know, I mean, I had to go up to a senior's house and get a bag and put her mattresses in a bag because she had them dragged out to her street. I dragged them back to her house. Then I had to go back up there on Saturday to drag them back out and put them in a bag. You know, now we got seniors that pay people to do that, and they can't keep on having people put stuff out and then have to drag it back and put it back and drag it back and forth because Good is only going to pick up 3 pieces of trash. So my thing is, why are we even paying for bulk trash pickup if they're not really picking up bulk? They're not picking up no bulk trash. I mean, most people were glad you could put out a refrigerator and know it'd be gone. Put out a stove and know it'd be gone. But now they don't pick up stoves, refrigerators, freezers, none of that. And I don't know when this came about because I've been on the council all these years and I've never heard of that until recently. So I think we need to either have a conversation. I need to give us some clarification on what they are going to pick up and what they're not going to pick up. And then maybe we need to look at maybe putting their contract out for bid, because this is getting ridiculous that trash is now sitting there because people just like, they're not taking it back in. They're just letting it sit there, you know, and that's not the appearance or the aesthetic that we want to give our community, that we have trash sitting all over the place because they won't pick up. Another issue, we got a letter of resignation from a number of election board members, with the chair, Richard Montgomery, being one of them. Have we gotten the keys back from him?
We have not, and I've contacted, well, I did speak to someone in Mr. Arroyo Montgomery's household, and I did try and leave a message for him about dropping the keys off, but we have not gotten the keys back yet.
Okay, that is city property, and if you got to send the chief of police over there like they would do anybody else to get those keys, they need to get the keys.
Okay.
He has no right to, that is city property. That is not his property. He shouldn't have had the keys in the first place because he's a volunteer. Those should have been in the lockbox in your office. That's where they should have been. You know, so we need to get the keys. You know, I don't think it's right. He resigned. He's still walking around with keys. So what you call it? I mean, they'll walk somebody out the door and take all this stuff out their hands at the drop of a hat. But this man has still got the keys to the lockbox, I mean, to the file cabinet for the city of Glen Arden. So we need to get those keys. Anyway, I can't share my screen with what's going on. This is for the mayor, but Hayes Street Park looks a complete and utter mess. It is, you cut down all of that brush up there, all that greenery, and now you got a dirty mud hill sitting there with all that greenery growing, with everything else growing around it. It looks a mess. You cut it here. I mean, you cut it. I mean, I want to know what you're going to do about it, because one, it's in my ward. Two, it looked much better than it did. I mean, it looked much better with the greenery around it. And you cut down all of that stuff and left a muddy hill because one person said it was an eyesore. And I'm not understanding that now. And I want to know what you're going to do to repair that, because it looks a hot mess. So if you can let me know, I'd be greatly appreciated. Anybody want to ride by it? It ain't like you can't miss it. So. Mayor.
I thank you. I've had my hand up for about an hour here, but I appreciate you giving me that opportunity to speak, Councilman Herring and Hay Street Park. That being cut down, there's also been a couple of other areas that's been cut down, namely here in Ward 3. We have also seen our crepe myrtles be cut down significantly. This mayor has asked many, many times for the council to put resolution against hiring us a real landscaper. And I have been consistently ignored on that point. And
Mayor, you're on mute.
thank you so much, City Manager. So thank you, Councilman Herring, for presenting me that question. And this brings me back to what I originally asked about 3 months ago, is for the city to actually put a resolution in to get us an actual landscaping service that we could employ for properly catering to parks and other beautification locations around the city, namely the municipal center. One of the things that has been a detriment to this administration is we've consistently asked Public Works to go outside of their realm. And really, the landscaping is not something that they are certified to do. We need a landscaper. And I have been begging for that. There hasn't been a council resolution put in. So we kind of get what we get. They have been asked to taper and cut, and this is what we get, from the crepe myrtles being cut on Glen Arden Parkway to what you have at Hay Street Park to other locations. I mean, they're doing the best they can, but you need a beautification contract. You need a landscaper. Until the council is ready to present that, that's kind of what we have. I wanted to address that Gold Room issue. I also received a phone call from Missionary Robinson, who was also very concerned that an elderly senior was in the cold, 50-degree weather, because she did get dropped off. And when Missionary Robinson came, the Gold Room coordinator, Miss Jessica Robinson, was there. And there was cameras, in fact, focused on the senior who was sitting in a wheelchair in 50-degree weather. So there is a lot of movement happening in this Gold Room that is not conducive to being community-based. The city of Glen Arden is a family. The city of Glen Arden is a community. The city of Glen Arden is not a metropolitan. And because we're charging now for every event that the mayor has put on and has put out by a quarterly postcard, just because you want to give it to the Gold Room to charge for it, citizens of Glen Arden, hear me and hear me well. You do not have to pay for these events. As your mayor, you do not have to pay for these. I am not going to charge you $49.95 for a chicken plate for Mother's Day. It is absurd.
Point of order, Mayor, Council President. This is not where we need it. This is not where we're going here. This was about the report. We were supposed to be getting information on a report, not this badgering of any employee or the Gold Room.
So relative to
What's your question?
Can't hear you, Council President.
I have a question.
Can anybody hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. But before you go, Ms. Jones, Mr. Herring, was your question answered?
I just wanted to make a statement right quick, because Mayor, you said that's what we get, but we got what we got because you listened to one citizen who said that the brush, and that's what you said in the last meeting, the brush was falling on cars, the brush was this, the brush was unsightly, and that's why you had it cut down. You had it cut down without even getting the landscaper. It's one thing to say we need one. It's another thing to say we need one because you cut everything down, without even seeing, without getting somebody to look at it before. I mean, a landscaper looked at that and had that growth put there for a specific reason, as I said in the last meeting. And instead of trying to find out or getting a landscaper to look at it before you cut it, it was cut down, and it was cut down by your order to Public Works, It was not?
Mm-mm.
Public Works just did it.
Public Works has a lot more than just my order to Public Works. You have made it effectively clear that the city manager runs the city of Glenarden. So now you want to say the mayor has an order? At this point, I think that we're all clear that Public Works is operating under the advisement of the city manager. At which case the city manager was concerned at that time that there was brush falling on people's cars and presented a safety hazard to those personnel that frequented that establishment there by the barber shop. So that was cut down. But Councilman Herring, many meetings I've been asking for, many citizens have also echoed the request for a beautification strategy. And that included putting together a landscape proposal. And we have actually submitted to the council landscapers, but the council has denied putting together, accepting the resolution for a landscaper for whatever reason. You know, we have been submitting things to the council for the last 6 months and gotten nowhere. So the
Point of order, Council President. Point of order. I have not seen any landscape proposals as a council person. And I would like any other council member to tell me what resolutions they've seen from the administration concerning getting a landscaper, except for the Veterans Park, because I'm not talking about that. We got a resolution for that. I'm talking about a landscaper for any other parts of the city that required landscape. Has any other council member received the resolution? Because Robin Jones has not, from the administration, to have this work done.
So that'll be a no for me. I haven't seen the landscaper contract, and as evidence to rebut that we have not moved on anything, several of the resolutions that we read today were from the administration. So the idea that we just don't present things from the administration is false.
And I was going to follow with that because I have not seen any landscaper resolutions. And as a matter of fact, we paid for a landscaper to do a citywide landscaping project. That's how we got the trees, the crepe myrtles on Glenarm Parkway, and the brush and the trees and the vegetation around the municipal building, because we had a landscaper. Just a matter of keeping it up. But my thing is with the Hayes Street Park, though, Mayor, because I'm trying to give you the opportunity, because if we got to pull up to go back to the last meeting, we can go back to the last meeting. But you defended that. You were the one that said that you had it done because brush was falling down on people's cars, even though there's no car, there was nothing falling in anybody's car. But you defended the action that happened over there, and I again, you know, I was like, why would you do that when you didn't take the time to ask why was the brush there, or why was it planted, or, you know, a landscaper actually did that landscaping work for that park, and that brush that you cut down was part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying that you defended the action when I brought it up last time. So I'm assuming that if you defended the action, then you okay the action.
No, don't assume. What I defended was what you said was that was going to have runoff and it was going to be loose and all of that. What I said was, because that was formerly the brush that was there had strong roots, that you shouldn't worry about the runoff. I never defended anything about how it looked as far as beautification. And on January the 24th, we submitted or had conversations with the council about the Greenbelt recommended contractor for the beautification strategy. And nothing became of it. It never made the docket. I think we was told we needed to get three contractor bids, and in accordance to the charter, if there is a contractor that has been equally utilized by one of our cities that are of same stature as the city of Glenarden, and Greenbelt most definitely is, that in accordance to the charter, we could actually write a resolution to utilize that contractor based on their already having certified that contractor and using that contractor. So that's what we were doing. That was around the discussion that we had with the crepe myrtles and the outcry for how they were cut. But no, I never defended how ugly it looked, I actually said that we need a beautification strategy, at which case we do need a landscaper. But because that was the type of foliage that was there, we shouldn't worry about the runoff of the land because it has tight roots to it.
Mayor, let me ask, you do know how runoff works? You know, runoff works when you have a living plant that's going to draw the water in. There are no living plants up there. They're all dead. The water's running down the hill. There's nothing to hold it back. You know, I mean, that's why you have plants there. It holds the water in, it keeps the water from running off and keeps the hill from running down. And then there's nothing there but dirt. There's not a living plant up there yet. And so I don't know what the dead roots aren't doing any good. You know, that's how runoff works. You have a living plant. The plant draws in the water and it holds the water back. It holds the land up there and it keeps the water from running off the property. So, you know, it's mud running. I mean, it's just water running down the hill. So I'm done. I just want to know what you're going to do to remedy that. I don't need to wait for no major. I don't want to see no major landscaping plan. I want to send somebody over there to see what we can plan over there to get that back to the way it was, or get it some semblance of still look like a muddy hill, something green up on there in the springtime. We got to sit there and look at that all for the next year and a half, waiting for a plan to be formulated for one hill. That's what I'm saying. Some things can just be done. We don't need a major plan to replant a hill. It's just sending somebody out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Herring. Councilwoman Jones.
Yes, I have some questions for the acting chief of police. Captain Jackson.
Are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, I'm reading your report and it shows at three incidences where the citizens in Woodmore experienced vehicle issues. What kind of plan is the police department putting in place to address these issues? Also, I saw two incidences up at the new, what is it, LA Fitness? That's up there now, that somebody broke in their cars. I mean, when you see a pattern of break-ins like this, I mean, does the police department institute any kind of plan of action as to how they're going to rectify this situation?
Yes, we've instructed the officers to provide extra patrol up there. We've also spoken to management about employing officers to sit on the parking lot during certain hours. We didn't get any feedback from the managers about that. And since the last incident, there has been no more break-in in cars.
So it seems like to me, if a citizen or a business in the city of Glenarden is paying, then we can get police protection. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, that's not true. That's what you're saying, but that's not true.
That's just what I'm hearing.
Well, we instruct the officers to provide extra patrols, and that's what they do. And they also call out 18s when they're stationary. When they're stationary at a certain location, they have to notify communication of their location and where they're at. And they sit there for a period of time. And if nothing happens, they leave and go somewhere else and do the same.
Well, while taking my walk around Woodmore, some of the citizens asked me why you got 5 police officers in the circle a couple of weekends ago, and what about the other parts of the city?
Well, I can't speak on that. I've never seen 5 officers in the circle.
I wish I had taken a picture now. So the other issue is today I got a call or asked to come and look at a crane, and in speaking with code enforcement, they were told, the citizen told them that they were told by, he said a city official told him that he could bring this crane in. But when we have cranes or any type of heavy equipment brought into the city of Glenarden, there are procedures and policies that are already set in place to have these, things brought in so that the city will know that they're there, not only for the safety of the person bringing it in, but the safety of the citizens around this. This one was a monstrosity to me, brought in. And it was told to me by the citizens that you told the person that it was okay for them to bring that crane in, but like I'm saying, there are policies and procedures already in place that code enforcement has to follow whenever a citizen wants to bring in heavy equipment or build something or do anything. We have policies and procedures already in place. I would ask you, if you did tell this citizen that they could do this, that you would refer back to the code enforcement to make sure that all of the policies and procedures are followed, so that, like I said, not only for the person that's bringing it in, but for the safety of the citizens, where they might need cones around or signs to say no parking or you know, for their safety.
Okay, first of all, it wasn't a, excuse me. First of all, it wasn't a crane. Second, yes, I was approached by a citizen on Saturday who asked me if it was okay if the trailer was dropped off at the dead end of the street, because he was going to be moving from his residence from the Woodmore area. And since it was on a dead end street, not in the neighborhood, not impeding any traffic, I told him, sure. I said, put a note on it, let them know that I've spoken to you. And he gave me a time frame when it was going to be moved. And on Saturday, when I was up there, I saw the gentleman loading up a U-Haul truck, taking stuff out of his house, packing it up, and they packed the trailer up. And today the trailer was moved. So it wasn't a piece of heavy equipment. So I don't know who said it was a piece of heavy equipment. It was a trailer. And the trailer was moved this morning, and the guy moved out of the area.
Well, even with that, the code for the city of Glen Arden says that we don't have any tractor trailers in the city. That was one thing that's the late Chief O'Donnell enforced, you know. So I'm just saying, for the protection of the citizens and the safety of the person that has it, you know, we should look at our codes before we go and announce that it's okay or not okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I did have one thing for the chief. I did actually want to say thank you, because, you know, we have in Woodmore at Glenarden had car break-ins, and I know I reached out to you, and, you know, citizens have been posting, or had been posting things on the chat with individuals walking around. But since we've talked and you have sent officers to the night, I haven't heard anything. So I know there may be some concerns elsewhere, but I do appreciate you paying attention to that and sending your officers there. And I'm a night owl, so I'm up to 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm constantly seeing officers patrolling the area, so I appreciate that. And if there are any other issues that arise, I don't hear all of them, I'll let you know.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions related to any other reports? All right. City Manager Barber, I know it's not necessarily in your report, but you want to mention something about the air conditioning unit, correct?
That's correct. The HVAC unit that is governing the airflow for the cable station and for the hallway outside of the cable station is on its last leg. We have been told by 3 different companies that it would cost more to try and fix the unit than it would to try and replace the unit in the long run, not in the short run, but in the long run. So what we are proposing is that we did get 3 quotes from 3 different vendors to replace that unit, and we would like to bring to you all an emergency resolution next week to replace the units. It is rather pricey. The lowest one is about $12,000 rounded up, and but we do feel that this would be necessary because with the summer months coming on, we don't want that equipment in the cable room to be sitting in a room where it's just being kept cool by fans. And we do plan on bringing on our cable specialists, I guess, to work with the city in getting that cable channel back up and functioning to its fullest capacity. And we plan on doing that very soon. We are in final discussions with an individual on that. And so we want to have the facility ready for them when they come. And so that is why we'd like to bring to you all an emergency resolution approving that money be spent from the line item for building repairs and maintenance to be able to replace that unit as soon as possible.
Any questions, concerns from the council? Oh, okay. Correct if I'm wrong. Is there any such thing as an emergency resolution? I know there's an emergency ordinance, but I haven't heard of an emergency resolution.
I have done them in the past, but if you all don't employ that nomenclature, then it would just be it would just be a resolution. My concern is that with the amount of time that it takes to get it done, that the quotes are only good for 30 days. And so the pricing could change after 30 days.
Okay. Any?
And it's over it's over the amount that I can spend.
I'll go to Mr. Harry first, because
Yeah. Who's doing the work again?
So the lowest bidder was Johnson Controls. And we got quotes from Johnson Controls, Munoz, HVAC, and Hugie.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Councilwoman Jones.
So they put in a proposal that it was 30 days, because normally the ones that we saw before for the new one we put on the roof, that was the proposal was, I thought it was 60 days or 90 days.
Yeah, so this one is 30 days.
From Johnson Controls?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, I worked with Johnson Controls before, so they're pretty good, but I didn't think they had 30.
Yeah, I mean, I can touch base with them to see if they'd be willing to give us 60 days. But you know, when Mr. Taylor worked with them on putting together this quote, I think they gave us their best deal. And I think it was predicated on that 30-day turnaround.
I think they did some work for the city before, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilwoman Ferguson, did you have anything to add?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Yeah, if you could present the resolution, it will give it a number for the regular session next week. And if they come back and say that we can extend the length of time for the quote, then great. If not, if needed, you know, we could, you know, see what we could do to possibly add another meeting to pass something if it's truly an emergency. Okay. Ms. Jones, did you have another comment about that? Okay. Any other questions as it relates to any other reports before we adjourn? Okay. Well, thank you all for your participation. The time is 10:22 and this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.